I think that means it's good. Possibly.
Okay. Hello, everyone. We're live.
We are live. We think we're live. We don't know if we're live, so if anyone is currently watching, if someone could just type in the chat, just like a little hello or something, that way we know that people can see us and hear us, because this is our first time doing this, so we don't quite know if the microphone works.
Yeah, last week was very frustrating because we were sitting here ready to go. And YouTube had some weird verification thing, so
yeah,
we're all good to go now, though.
We're here now. Yes.
All right. Well, sorry, I don't have good eyesight. Let me move it up.
Perfect. Okay.
Hi, Christy. Hello from England.
We're both here and we can hear you. Awesome, Scott.
Okay, well, great. Well, we cannot believe it's been
10 months? Almost
year.
10 months.
I think I was looking back at Instagram posts because I would post like every day of just daily things. And I think a year ago today we were in Madrid.
That seems right.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and good evening. I know it's 11 a.m. here in Colorado, and that's where Brian and I live now too. So
yeah. I guess I don't know where to start. I guess we'll just like have people still rolling in, and we'll see. They're from Nottingham.
It's lovely to see you all. This is so fun.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see people finally who have been commenting on videos. To see you guys in real time now is a bit surreal, but I recognize. I think I recognize all names in there.
Yeah,
it's exciting. We are a bit nervous too, because until now it's just been us putting out videos after the fact.
And so much has happened since we've come back. It feels like a lifetime ago, kind of. But we also we have mementos all around our house, and we seriously probably talk about the trip once a day.
Including, I mean, you guys can see right behind us are the tea towels from our first go around in Edinburgh.
Yes, we brought out some of our souvenirs that we bought at some point. If you guys are curious to see kind of what we got ourselves when we were on the trip.
Yeah, I guess where do we start? Do we start at the very, very beginning? Maybe just do like a kind of...
Well, yeah, I mean, for the few people who are here to start off, any questions that you have or, anything like that?
What if like the next 2.5 hours they're just like we're not going to type anything?
Do you have some questions on YouTube though?
There are a few YouTube questions, yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm going to wait and see if maybe some of those people are able to come in, and if some time goes by and then they aren't able to make it, then we'll.
I'm so glad that you enjoyed the trip, Mike. We also did, and we're so glad that you were able to go on it with us.
Yeah, it was the sword a good choice once it arrived. The sword was absolutely a good choice. Actually,
you can go get it.
Actually. I can go get it. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll go get it. Yeah. Again, sorry, I have contacts in, but my eyesight is not good, so I'm gonna look at your comments. I think yes. The comment about the equipment. We had actually he doesn't need to grab my camera, but we bought a $700 camera ahead of the trip because we thought we're going on the trip, we would need a camera. And then I don't know, a few weeks before we said we shouldn't bring it because we were worried about just having extra things and we were worried about losing stuff. So I'm so glad that we didn't bring it. This was literally our camera the whole time, Brian's phone. And we did have a Rode microphone that connected to his phone that we used up until we were heading to Dublin, and then it broke.
And it's in the vlog too. Yeah, breaking. It's a very sad day. And then we didn't put in the vlogs at all. Sort of deleted footage, but we did buy another Rode microphone. We couldn't find one that fit an iPhone, so we bought one for her phone. And it just didn't work.
Yeah, it just didn't work with the Pixel for some reason. But that's why Brian edited everything, by the way, and he would just put sorry for the audio issues, but it really wasn't that often. So
just wind.
Yeah, thank you for acknowledging that.
We were going to have a little funeral for the road mic that broke. We called him Roadie. And we meant to, when we went up to, I think it was Glendalough.
Yeah.
Highlands or Glendalough? I think it was Glendalough we were talking about.
Okay.
Because we had just gone to Ireland.
Yeah.
We were going to maybe bury him up in Glendalough somewhere, and we just forgot him. And then the whole trip we were like, we're going to do a little funeral for Roadie, and it never happened.
Which is probably good. We didn't want to bury trash, I guess.
Yeah,
but here's
true.
Here's a sword.
Yeah, so it's not the Witcher one that some people saw me really having a fascination with. So it's actually Strider's sword from Lord of the Rings. Not the sword when he becomes king. That would be I guess Anduril, and then Narsil, and then it becomes Anduril. This is actually it's just Strider's sword, it's called. It's got the little hunting knife in there as well.
And side note, we play Dungeons and Dragons with some of our friends and family, and that comes out every time we play.
Yeah,
just
for ambiance.
Yeah. Thank you about Christy. I curled my hair differently today, so I appreciate that.
When are you coming back to the UK, and when we visit Liverpool? So we did visit Liverpool. Not maybe as much as we wanted to. Liverpool was one of two places where we sort of realized that the original route that we had created was not feasible.
Yeah.
So in the vlog, you see we get into Liverpool maybe around 6 or 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So we just kind of have time to check into our hostel, and then we went out to eat, did a little bit of walking around. The next day, we did a Beatles exhibition. Went to Matthew Street. We did we did a lot of walking around Liverpool.
We did the typical Beatles touristy stuff that you see. But we didn't give ourselves enough time. So we got there 6 o'clock one night, had the day, and then what was it, 3 or 4 o'clock? We had a train or a bus to catch. I think it was a little bit later, but we basically had 24 hours in Liverpool, which wasn't nearly enough. And also, there were a few things we went to the Cavern Club, but nobody told us. They don't advertise it cleverly that it's not actually the real Cavern Club. Nowhere does it say. I mean, they're not just going to say "Hey, welcome to the Cavern Club where the Beatles played and a bunch of other bands played." It's not the real one though. It is, but it isn't, because apparently it was torn down and then reconstructed when they realized the cash cow that they could potentially have. So it's facing a different direction. So the stage is approximately where the stage was, and it looks the same. A lot of the bricks are still the same bricks that were used, but it's not walking down in the exact same club that the Beatles and others played in, but it was still really cool. It was still awesome. And that's something we look back on and we wish that we would have stayed an extra full day or even 2 days in Liverpool. Yeah. And to answer your other question, we're not sure when we're coming back to the UK, but after this trip, I feel travel is in our blood, and we're going to go back, and we would love to take our parents. My dad has been, but my mom hasn't and his family hasn't. So we would love to take them. We loved the UK.
Yeah. One more note I want to make about Liverpool too. We weren't quite, it was our 4th day or something, 5th day abroad. So I don't know if it was because we still in Google Maps had the walking distance on and we didn't change it. So we thought we were so far away from places where they grew up, Strawberry Fields, Penny Lane, the stadium even. If we had maybe hopped on a bus, we could have seen those. In retrospect, what we should have done is just booked one of those Beatles bus tours where they take you around. And that could have been our morning. Then we still could have had our afternoon and early evening. But
Liverpool was our second place, so we were very
new to it,
new and naive still.
Yeah. And then Belfast was the place where we realized no more of this one day in a place and moving on. That was the end of the short stays. So we always gave ourselves at least 2 days anywhere that we went, and I think that was a much better pace. So we cut out some places from the trip, but I think it was for the best.
Your personality is more than made up for the lack of using more expensive professional equipment. Thank you. That's very sweet.
Hey, from Scotland, Brian, why the Undertaker jacket all the way through? Are you talking about the coat that I got in Edinburgh? I thought it was a nice.
It was very fancy. Yeah. It was the story behind that, and you guys watch, but for those who aren't familiar, don't remember, Like one of my favorite things in life is to go thrifting and looking at vintage shops. And a vintage shop right at the very bottom of Victoria Street was this beautiful vintage shop. And my jacket, I brought like this very thin jacket that was just not going to cut it. So it was an excuse to go and shop and get kind of like a souvenir from Edinburgh.
Always an excuse to shop with Thorn.
But Brian's jacket was like, his first jacket was like, I don't know, 10 years old. And I'm speaking for you, but glad that he ended up getting that nice jacket because it looked good in all the pictures too.
Yeah. Although the first jacket would have been
warmer.
Yeah. Much more weatheproof for places
yes,
like
that's
Berlin.
true. Or Bordeaux. Yeah.
Thankfully, nowhere was too cold except for that one day in Berlin. But yeah, I don't know. If there was an Undertaker vibe to it, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah, he still has it. It's gonna be like one of those keepsakes.
Hopefully, I pulled it off enough where like it didn't stand out. You know.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Our friend Digital Dan has built an 80K following on an iPhone with no mic. Whenever we try and use external mics, something goes wrong.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened when we spent like 70 euros on the other mic for my phone, and it was just like a waste of money.
Maybe we'll make a separate video where we finally like laid Rody to rest.
Yeah.
But did you tell them about like we actually had equipment that we bought for the trip, and then we decided like, yeah, we didn't want to have to worry about losing it or it getting stolen. And it's also like if you're just in the moment there and you want to film something real quick, you don't want to be like, oh, hold on, let me get the camera, put the lens on. Oh, let's attach a microphone. We just wanted to be able to like
exactly
shoot and go.
And it was nice because Brian edits on a MacBook Pro, so he can just airdrop everything. So I think that's what he did a lot of the time, was just airdrop all the clips. So they just went directly into his editing system.
Yeah.
And yeah. Are you guys doing the same jobs now that you were back in the USA? No, our lives are very different from before when we left Nebraska. So what I do now is I'm a communications and marketing specialist for some rural school districts out here in Colorado. And I'm not lying when I say this. This is the best job I have ever had and will ever have. I love this job. Brian and I met at a TV station, and we can get into how we met if you guys are curious too. But I was a TV news anchor and reporter, and I told stories, and that's my passion, storytelling. So I get to do that now at this job, but for schools. So for kids who win awards or stuff like that. So it's amazing. And Brian actually has an update on his.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously came from the news station. When we got to Colorado initially, and we're currently living in a town that isn't the first town that we moved to after the trip. So we'll go into that whole thing too, because there's a whole big story about how we ended up here.
Or when we got back, it was a little rough.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Life hasn't started feeling like easy until like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. The first trip that I got upon moving here was it's kind of similar to what I was doing at the news station. It's a station called Weather Nation. It just does weather nationwide. So I was in production there, but the schedule was 2 a.m. to noon, Thursday through Sunday. And that just was not sustainable. Like my physical health just took a huge toll. The mental health wasn't great. There wasn't a lot of overlap where we could spend time together. We have a new puppy that we've had for like 7 months now. And he just needs a lot of time and work. And so all of it would fall onto her in the evening. So that just wasn't a sustainable situation. So as of Friday, I just got hired to a new job, which will be doing video production and editing work for a company that does like spirituality and things like that. So it's going to be a much more laid back pace. A lot of it's going to be like hybrid work. So a lot of working from home. So both of us now just had this great situation where we're on the same kind of schedule. A lot of the time we'll both be working from home. We can be here for the puppy. Like it's a much better situation. And we just moved into a nice house a few weeks ago versus the tiny little apartment that we were in. That was like just not a great situation. So
yeah, Brian his commute was super long. It was in the middle of the night at Weather Nation, going through Denver, which is just a very busy city. So a lot better gig now. Okay.
If you like D&D, my friend is an author and just launched a new book for players. Oh, cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Then I see my brother and my mom are in here.
So we'll skip over there.
Hello. Yep.
Find your trip when I was planning. That's it. Yep, name I recognize. Find your trip when I was planning to visit Edinburgh. Stayed for the rest of the journey. A great view of Europe through your eyes. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's so. I mean, it's hard to fully capture like how sort of grateful we are for people who. I mean, even if they just watch one video, but I mean, for the people who literally were commenting on the last video saying like, I've been here since the beginning or close to the beginning, and seeing a lot of the same. Just seeing a lot of the names pop up in the comments and stuff from those early videos. It's one of those things, I don't necessarily know that I would watch a series of videos with me in them, but they're probably watching mostly for you.
No.
So I like to believe it. No, but it is, it's very surreal that people spent like the last year, because I think our first vlog probably dropped, I think maybe a year ago today or around this, give or take a few days. So people have consistently come in and watch the trip. I now understand why people came in like to one video. It seems to be a lot of people who live in these certain cities. They want to see what outsiders think of them. But for people to say like, oh, I'm going to stick around, and even cities that I don't necessarily have much interest in, I'm going to see what they think of them. That's been really, really cool. So yeah, thank you guys so much for, just for sticking around with us. It's something we're still trying to adjust to, for sure. Yeah, and it's so neat just right now to be chatting with a lot of you. So speaking of Google Maps, it's quite funny when you were looking for the Playhouse in Edinburgh and ended up finding Calton Hill, you were literally 20 seconds away from it, and it worked out well in the end. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was so frustrated that day trying to find the Playhouse Theater because my dad was in the Navy in like the 80s and the 90s, and he was stationed in Scotland. And he always talked about Edinburgh. So when we were there, I was like, I'm going to take a picture in front of the Playhouse, a theater that he went to a lot when he lived there. Couldn't find it. But then we saw a line of people going up these steps, and we were like, if there's a lot of people going somewhere, then something has to be cool. And then we had like another, oh my God, moment in Edinburgh, just seeing Calton Hill and falling in love with it. And then of course we go like to another part of the area, and then we see the back of the Playhouse. And coming back when we were in Edinburgh the second time, we stumbled upon the Playhouse. I had kind of given up because I saw the back of it. I was satisfied with that. But we were I think we went to a Tesco or something, and we were walking back to our hotel in Edinburgh. And then it was just there. And it was something that we hadn't even thought about doing. So do you remember, by the way, the first time we were looking for the Playhouse? First of all, like it's one of those things where we didn't do a lot of research on Edinburgh before we went there, probably for the best, because so much of it took us by surprise. But you look at like lists of must see places in Edinburgh, and like Calton Hill's on pretty much all of them. But for us, it was just a place that we had never heard of because we hadn't done the research. Yeah. So, and I'm kind of glad because it just had that much more impact when we went up there. Also, remember, it led us first. It tried to lead us through the station. That's Google Maps tried to take us down into the train station to take us to Playhouse Square, and then or the Playhouse. Did I say Playhouse Square? Is there a thing? You just said Playhouse Square, but no, regardless, it's just to the Playhouse. And it was just like Google Maps was like not working and super frustrating. People don't believe us that Google Maps was terrible on this trip. People kept saying it must be user error, and it's like, no, we just put the place in and we're just following in multiple places where it tells us rough to go, and then it yeah. Is there any European food you miss? Italian food in I was gonna say oh my gosh, the Italian food in Italy was fantastic. Although I think my favorite pasta was at a place in Prague. Underground there was like an underground little mom and pop type of Italian restaurant, but I was also starving, but it was really, really, really good. What else besides pasta? I do have a note about the pasta, but if we maybe after I'm not sure. What did we have that was really, I liked frog legs in Paris. I wasn't into that, but the coffee in Italy was also really good too. Yes. Yeah. And coming off of Switzerland, when you're in Bern and coffee and some like biscuits or something cost like 40, what would it be, like Swiss francs or whatever. And then you go to Italy and it's like €2 for a cappuccino or something. That contrast, it was like, oh, thank you. We're not going to bankrupt ourselves just wanting to have a little bit of
Coffee.
Caffeine, yeah.
Also, feel free to ask like financial questions, something that might feel taboo, or I guess here in America, it's weird to talk about money sometimes, but we are happy to talk about the money part of this trip.
Yeah, or the lack thereof.
Yeah. I really have enjoyed your videos. Thank you, Cranky Tourist. What were you going to say?
Just real quick, one last thing about the Italian food. I think we liked, like, there was food that we ate that we liked all throughout, but you guys saw a lot of the time we just stuck to food we knew we would like. And I think like some people were like, oh, what? Like you're going to these places and you're not trying the local cuisine. And we did in a lot of places. We just didn't show it in the video, but also we kind of had limited funds. And so we weren't just going to go drop 30, 40 euros on a meal on the off chance that we would hopefully like a lot of the stuff. So it just really depended on the situation. A lot of like desserts, pastries, and things that were cheaper. We tried those, pastel de nata, and
we also had like some instances where we had like a glass of wine, or in Hamburg, we kind of went crazy and had like a few cocktails at this really expensive bar. But it was more, we were looking, if we were spending money on food, it was for an experience rather than just trying to find every local cuisine. And we're not foodies. And food really was like the last thing on our minds. Like we just wanted to have the energy and not be hungry and go and explore.
Yeah,
so.
That's true. Neither of us are foodies that much.
In fact, we did have McDonald's in every single country we were in for fun to try. And we have a video that will come out, spoiler, too.
Yeah. It's the most American thing ever, but we didn't intend it. We just like went one night in London to McDonald's just to get some cheap food. And then we're like, what if we just did this in every country we go and make it a video? So that video will be coming out. Like we tried McDonald's in in like 14 countries or 13 countries. Okay. Last little note about the Italian food. We didn't think it was that great when we first got to Italy. It's like hyped up, like Italian food in Italy is like awesome. And when we got to Milan and we had Italian food, we were like, it doesn't taste any different than the Italian food we've been having. We had some like, some meals that were better than others. Like in Rome, there was a really good place right around the corner from where we were staying. But like, we didn't think it was exceptional until we flew. Well, I don't think we had much Italian food. We didn't have it in Greece really, but then we flew back to Edinburgh and we had Italian food in Edinburgh, and it was like markedly different. And we realized we had just been slowly working our way south, closer and closer to Italy. So we were slowly acclimating to the taste of authentic Italian food, that we just didn't notice how good it was by the time we actually got to Italy proper. And then when we flew all the way back north, then it was like, oh yeah, this is closer to the like Italian food that we're used to as Americans versus like the really authentic good stuff.
Like from there, everything tasted like it was like 3 times as sweet, and just not as fresh, I guess. So. Yeah. What city did you find the most sketchy, dangerous feeling on your travels?
Sketchy, dangerous?
I think there's a few.
For different reasons, probably.
I think the most, that's tough. I think the first thing that comes to mind as being the most was probably Milan. Yeah,
Milan had some,
But also Barcelona was sketchy, mostly at night. But we were staying in a hostel that we did not like, in kind of a weird area where we had to like walk in kind of sketchier parts to get there. So
yeah, our perspective, and but like anybody who's from any of these places, we're sure that other people have had, it's all subjective, right? Like Amsterdam, for example.
Oh yeah.
We had some really sketchy instances in Amsterdam, but we're aware that Amsterdam, for the most part, like is a pretty safe place. There's police patrolling all the time. They have CCTV everywhere. So we know that people go there and they don't have any sketchy experiences. But sometimes, people do. Like Paris, for example, we didn't feel sketched out in Paris at all. We just had one like instance at 3 a.m. that we talked like the night that we got engaged. But other than that, like Paris to us felt perfectly safe. But we know that a lot of people have had bad experiences in Paris. So it all just depends on like the time you're there. Some people are just going to have a bad time. So yeah, down in the red light district in Amsterdam and even other places, like it wasn't a very clean city. We saw a guy throwing up in the street that we were walking by.
Like just collapsed and threw up everywhere.
Yeah, a guy offered her cocaine. So,
Yeah.
and when you're there, when you're like halfway through, you're like 45 days or something into a 91-day trip, and like you're far away from where, like if we were in London and something happened, no big deal, right? Like we have our plane tickets to go back home. We're in that city, but we're countries and countries away from where we have to get back to be able to fly home. And like our money for the next 40 something days is like on our person to be able
We got
to
our
pay.
passports. I had a purse on my chest that literally was our life.
Yeah.
It had everything.
Yeah.
Our phones, our passports, our money, all of that. So
we were a bit more high alert than if we just had gone on holiday for like a week somewhere.
yeah, but those would be the answers. I guess if we had to say three, Milan, Barcelona, and Amsterdam, probably.
Yeah, we were told it was really controversial in the comments. We met we met a woman who was a London cop before we flew to London, like a week before, and she told us to be a little bit careful in Liverpool. But then on the Liverpool video, because we mentioned that in the video, and so many people told us that that's just London people being a bit,
London people.
Yeah, I do. There's so much rivalry with
We
you
don't
guys
get it,
in England, particularly, right? Like people really don't like people in London. Clearly, are like a lot of people maybe feel
just like we do in the States, I guess.
Yeah.
Different regions and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those demanding spiritual types. Oh, that's Brian. Can you give your puppy a guest appearance in your stream? We absolutely can. He has a backyard. We just moved into this house like 2 weeks ago, so it's sunny out, it's warm, so he will make an appearance. We can show you a picture of him if you want.
Yeah.
That's him. We named him Nimbus, but he's just outside, so he'll eventually pop in, but he's content right now.
He's doing good out there. If he was in here the whole time, we'd have to keep getting up and saying like, no, Nimbus, don't like.
Yeah,
don't go
yeah,
after
yeah.
the
When he
Christmas
comes
tree,
in,
don't go after that. So.
You'll know. What is one thing you miss about your trip? Oh my gosh, I don't know if we can even say one.
I just miss the feeling. There's like a feeling that is impossible to explain to anybody, but there was a feeling like the second night in London. We had just done the London Dungeon. We were over by the London Eye. We were walking back. It was nighttime. Big Ben, Elizabeth Tower, was lit up across the bridge. And it was just like there was this realization that came over me that we're day 2 and we had 91 days of this. And we had just come off of 2 incredible days in London, seeing things we never thought we'd see in our lives. And realizing that it was just the beginning. We had 14 countries ahead of us. Yeah, and it was just this feeling I'll never be able to explain. It's a feeling I'll never be able to feel again. But yeah, it's just this excitement and this realization that nothing else mattered. Like everything before, like we had come here, we were on this trip, and all ahead of us was nothing but exploration and freedom. And it was just, and we had a few moments like that on the trip where you just be like, I miss being right in the middle of it, and you're not thinking about anything other than just the present. And that's like, it was such a good feeling. So I missed that. What about you?
I think I miss the sense of freedom that we felt. Don't get me wrong, I love our life now, but it's just something that we'll never ever get to replace or feel again. Like we didn't have any commitments back home. I love our puppy, but we didn't have a puppy, no kids. We had just left jobs. We had money in the bank. And we were just going to explore. Every day was new. Every day was going out and seeing something else. We didn't have work. We didn't have emails. We didn't have obligations. We didn't have bills. Like it was just, I think like the most freedom that like maybe we've ever felt. So I do miss that part because just like everyone, you kind of have this like same monotony of your day or your week and stuff like that. So I feel super grateful that we had the opportunity for 3 months, and we want to be able to do that again, but it will never be the same because I don't plan on leaving this job. We want to get married. We want to have kids, soon.
Yeah.
Soon. I mean, in the next like 5 years, but still. So,
yeah. But we also want to travel. So now it's about figuring out how we can realistically do trips and fairly lengthy trips, but maybe not 91 days, that probably won't ever be able to happen again. But like we could do several week trips or something, or a long trip. We just got to figure out like
vacation time. Cause that type of stuff, like still having a job and still going on a big trip. But the freedom is my.
The whole conceit of this trip was we didn't know if we would ever be able to do anything like this again. We didn't know if we'd ever be able to travel again, just we didn't even know how traveling was going to be. But the whole like once in a lifetime trip, or the trip of a lifetime, was because like we knew we were never going to have this period where we were both like out of work and with all this money saved. And we knew the next place we went, we were going to settle and start like racking up these commitments. So this was our one opportunity potentially in our entire lives to be able to see a lot of these places. So that's also why like we didn't just do like 4 countries. We didn't do 91 days and spend a lot of time, because it's like, what if we never get to go to
Switzerland?
Yeah. What if we never get to go to Bruges or something like that? Like, sure, we could have spent more time in London. Sure, we could have seen more of England, but it was like, what are these places, these big cities in Europe that we would love to see? And what if we never get a chance to see them? This could be our one chance. So even if we only get 2 days there or 3 days there, it's still, to us, it was more meaningful than looking back someday and being like, oh, we were over there, but we never got to make it to Belgium. Oh, we never got to make it to, to Prague or something like that.
Yeah. Or we only went to Berlin and Germany. We didn't go to the other places.
Yeah.
And that's why we chose Europe too, is like, we could have, because we were on a budget, we could have done Southeast Asia and like really not done hostels. We could have, maybe had more money or traveled longer, but we thought the places that we wanted to go most, because we had never been out of the country before this, were places in Europe. So
the only other place in the world that I think is on the same level as some of those places in Europe for me is New Zealand. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Obviously, the sword came out. So like New Zealand for me is a place I have to get to in my life. So that's now top of my list.
Bushy Trucking sounds familiar. That's my little brother. How much money should I save to take a similar trip? Seems like it was very expensive. That is right, Nick. It was incredibly expensive. I think it's all subjective. We cut stuff here and there, but the experience was what was meaningful to us. So we weren't mildly smart with our money, but to just be honest and flat out, we had like 12,000 in the bank for the trip. And we came back with
about 11,000
on a credit card.
Yeah, we ran out of money about the time we had. Like, I remember we had about how much we had, maybe about 1,000 or a little less than 1,000 when we were in Berlin.
Yeah.
And there was that really dark period in Berlin. My grandma passed away on Christmas Eve, and we were looking at flights. We thought we had to. You can bring Nimby in.
I'm gonna get the dog.
And we thought we were probably gonna have to come back, and it was devastating. But it was a situation where it's like, okay, this money that we have left is probably the money to get home, and then that's like the money tapped out. But then when the trip, we had a chance to continue, I spoke to family, and they gave me reassurance that they understood. They all said, like, you should continue the trip. And being so close to the Czech Republic, which is the lineage that my grandma came from, her mother and her father were from the Czech Republic. So it felt very meaningful to continue the trip because we were right there. And so the trip carried on, and we just said, okay, we've gone through the money that we saved.
Yeah. We
know we have this limit on our credit card, which is quite high. Let's just we're not just going to not
continue.
Yeah. Like this is a once in a lifetime thing. We'll be paying this off for like a few years after. Who cares? The experience is more important than having to pay a little bit more on a credit card after.
Yeah.
So yeah, the whole trip itself was probably in the neighborhood for us of 23,000, but we weren't very smart at the beginning. There were definitely things we could have done. And you saw us in the first ever vlog. We're like, we wanted to go into Westminster Abbey, but we were like, oh, the tickets are like 30 something.
It's not on our budget, but
yeah,
we did it on the way back.
Yeah.
And to be completely honest, just because we are, when we were leaving London to get to the airport to fly home, we didn't even have enough money enough credit on our credit card to buy tickets to get on the tube.
Yeah, transferred personal funds in
Yeah.
just to be able to get to the airport.
And we had like close to $5,000 to come home too, but that was literally for rent.
Yeah.
And to survive. And we hadn't had jobs by the time we came home or anything. So yeah, we really pushed the envelope. Are you going to do more live chats on a regular basis to let us all know how you are getting along with your lives now that you are back home in a new state back in the US? If that's something that you guys want, we would be happy to come on and chat. Yeah.
Awaiting the puppy training videos now, of course. Oh, no,
I can pick him up and show you guys.
He definitely needs training, but we're
Come here. Baby, come here. Baby. This is Nimbus.
You want to say hi? He's super, super sweet, super affectionate. He cuddles with us in bed.
Yeah.
And we love him, but he is so high energy, and
he's a bit crazy.
And he has to put everything in his mouth.
Yeah.
So,
but this is Nimbus. He's 11 months old, and hopefully he's gonna take a nap.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Okay, can I have my chair back? Oh, thank you, puppy.
Say bye. Okay. Yeah, puppy training videos though. Oh. He wants to be part of it.
Yep.
Was interested as I'd lived in 2 of your destinations, very familiar with the third. Was interesting to see how you found them, but I also enjoyed Prague because I had heard so much about it. Prague in particular was it just like hit different, and not just because of the stuff with my grandma, but Prague, I think after coming off of Berlin, and this is, if there anybody from Germany in this chat, this is, I mean, Berlin might have felt different if there wasn't like tragedy that happened when we were there.
Yeah, Berlin was the lowest time in the trip for sure for us.
But it had a lot going against us. It had like all of that stuff, right? The touch and go. When we got into Germany in general, Hamburg, like getting into Hamburg is when we found out like my grandma had a stroke and was in like a coma state. And so it was touch and go, like whether or not she was going to be able to pull through, what was going to happen, having to come home potentially. So Germany in general was kind of a dark period. But when we got to Berlin, then it was like the coldest place we had been to. The city itself,
it just felt
it has a feel to it. What is it?
We have a relative who had visited, and when we got home and talked to her about it, she said that the city felt tired.
Yeah.
And we agree, but we're allowed to have our own opinions. Like we had good memories in Germany, but we were just at very much of a crossroads. And also it was Christmas, which sucked, to be honest. Like Christmas sucked, being away from family, and we were grieving.
We spent 2 full days just in the hotel.
Like just in bed on our phones and stuff. So, yeah.
So, but the history there, absolutely incredible. I'll show later when we show our souvenirs. I got a little piece of the Berlin Wall.
Mm-hmm.
The history there is absolutely, if you're into that, it's absolutely worth going. But it's definitely not a city like when we get to Prague. Prague is just beautiful to look at, but that's because Prague is intact, and Berlin, so much of it, due to the war, so much of it is just modern. So you feel like you're just walking around a city with patches of history throughout. Prague just has its own sort of charm and beauty because of the architecture. And so it's not really the fairest comparison, but it was just nice to get past the Berlin stage. And when we got to Prague, it was like the world opened up again. And so,
yeah.
Did your savings for the trip work out? They got us halfway there, or more than half. They got us past the halfway point.
Yeah, I'm glad that we had what we had. We saved up a lot when we weren't making much money in Nebraska. So thank God we had what we did. But if we could do it again, I would have $25,000.
Well, mistakes that we made too. The first month, we didn't really grocery shop. And that's the key. If you're going to do a trip like this, if you want to do a long trip and backpack and not spend a lot on the trip, grocery shop from the start, and then just limit yourself to like a few meals out in any place you go to. And for the first month, we didn't do that. We were just like, we had lunch and dinner in the city. and we didn't think too much about it, but that's where the majority of that money went. So we probably could have made it over 3/4 of the way without running out of our savings. But
granted too, we also
it's hard to cook in
maybe
hostels.
and maybe we weren't smart enough, but we only had I had a tote that I could grab too if you guys are curious, but a tote that was our everything, and it was basically our food storage bag and our laundry bag and stuff, but we only could really have a can of tomato sauce or spaghetti sauce and pasta. So when we would eat in the hostel, it was just spaghetti.
Yeah, everything had to be non-perishable for the most part.
Yeah.
If you're gonna take it
for actual meals, not just eating snacks.
Yeah.
And a lot of the hostel kitchens were very questionable. Some of them were immaculate. Some of them I did not want to cook in. So yeah, but it would have saved money, definitely.
And everything that we purchased grocery wise, if we don't eat through it in the city we're in, it has to come with us on the train. This big bulky tote bag, then it's just another thing Lauren has to carry or I have to carry that has to go in overhead or whatever. So
yeah. It would have been easier for you to get to the Playhouse through Waverly Station from Market Street. I think that's what Google Maps was originally trying to do, but we were just confused and kind of frustrated.
It stopped at one point. We followed it and then it told us to go back out. So
yeah. Okay, I lost where we were at. Sorry.
A little bit more up, I think. There we go. Okay, when we were in Switzerland this year, I did eventually work. Got the key was to get your coffee and croissant to go. Made a significant price difference. Some great food halls too.
Yeah, honestly, in Switzerland, we did eat in the hostel because it was more like a hotel. So I know we cooked a lot there. And they also gave us free coffee, free lattes in the hostel, which was super nice.
Yeah.
And I think we only ate out. I think we only had burgers in Switzerland, and then we had Starbucks on the day that we were leaving, and we just had part of the day.
I think in the train station leaving Switzerland, we got Hans and Gluck.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Shout out to Hans and Gluck and Peter Pan.
He's not saying that right, but anyways, yes, that would have been good to take it away, and also not eat at Starbucks. We just needed a place to sit and edit and catch up on stuff, so we just did Starbucks.
There's a little side note too. Everybody, so Roller Baz and Coaster Dad, it could be, so there was first of all, I don't think I saw that there was a shout out when we were heading back to London from you, Scott. So thank you for that shout out. I think I forgot to comment in there. But if you guys like roller coasters, go check out that channel because just great vlogs. If you like the vlog style like we do, and you're specifically into roller coasters around Europe, that is a channel that you want to check out because
very neat. Yeah.
And Scott's, I think probably since those early London vlogs, I recognize Scott commenting in all the videos. So yeah.
Thank you for your support.
Okay. You are right. Switzerland is really expensive, but just beautiful. We do day trips from the UK, fly in the morning, go shopping for lunch, come home. So easy when the flight is.
I bet
it's a good way to do it. Then
I know
get the best of both worlds.
We are jealous of the how easy it is and quick to travel in Europe to amazing places.
Yeah.
Of the few occasions I've been lucky enough to visit Italy, food has been great everywhere. Yeah.
Except the pizza at the.
Okay, but that's our fault.
Yeah, that was very touristy.
Yeah. Skipping my mom's question because she's embarrassing me. Where in Edinburgh? I'm guessing Roller Baz and Coaster Dad. That's about where my dad was stationed. Let us know if that's incorrect. But
oh yeah,
I honestly don't know. I know it was near Edinburgh.
I commented. Somebody asked that on. I guess it would be our second Edinburgh vlog. Somebody asked the question where he was stationed, and I forget it now, but I commented at the time because we reached out and we found out where.
Yeah, but it's no longer there. I don't know. But yeah, I just know that when he talks about his time in Scotland.
I'll look it up right now, actually. Okay. Where he was stationed.
Edinburgh was a place that he loved. Oh, there's Steph.
3 months in Europe all day, every day is a lot of time with Brian. Was there any part of the trip that really tested you? That's my sister, trying to be
No, she's
sassy.
that. I think that's a great question. Was there a part of the trip that really tested your relationship? I think that, and I'm not just saying this, but I was really unpleasant on travel days. I'm a type A person, so I want to be like at the train station early. I want to know where the train is. I want the train to be on time. I don't want there to be any delays. I want the connections to be perfect. It is unrealistic. But in America, traveling isn't as, what's the word? I don't know, complex, or we don't have as many like options. It's like flying or driving a car mostly. So I feel like, and also flying in America, like flying domestically here is a lot easier because you have your stuff set up way in advance. Like you go to the airport way early, you already have your gate and all of that stuff. Where flying in Europe is not like that. Like I think one time we got our gate like 20 minutes before boarding or takeoff.
Yeah, that doesn't sit well with your type A.
No, I just wanted to make sure like we would get there, and it's different. Like we weren't at home where, okay, if we missed the flight, then we come home and we get the next flight or whatever. Like we were in a different place. We had all of our stuff with us. So I was definitely, I could be kind of mean and short on travel days. But I think that was it, right?
Yeah. I mean, there weren't, I don't know. Yeah. We didn't, there weren't really disagreements. There were just moments where, yeah, if the stress was a little high because of, typically was just travel day stuff. But we never, there just like a handful of moments where it's just a bit snippy, but then like as soon as we were where we needed to get, yeah, that's just like the nature of our relationship in general. We're very good about if there is any
We balance
issue,
each other out.
yeah, within an hour, we're just like, we just talk it out and then we're good. So
yeah, we rarely fight, but I think that we balance each other out because if I don't push us to get somewhere on time or make it happen, then we wouldn't be there if it was just Brian. If it was just Brian handling everything, it would be like, oh, is it like?
Yeah, I was more just go with the flow, and she was more like, we need to know exactly where to go, exactly what time.
Yeah.
And so Edsel, by the way, EDZ, I guess as y'all would say, ELL is the base, Edsel.
Is it nice to be home, or do you have the travel bug now?
Got the travel bug for sure, but it's also nice to be home.
I definitely was ready to come home closer to the end of the trip. Like I was feeling sad about leaving, but I was ready for normalcy. I thrive off of like a schedule and normalcy and stuff. And we can dig more into that about our transition coming home. But now that we live in like a beautiful home in a really nice neighborhood, because the last 7 months we lived in a really sketchy kind of area. So at this very moment, we are very glad to be home.
Yeah, for sure. Could you feel animosity in Ireland towards the English? No.
Although, maybe I'm misremembering, so correct me if I'm wrong, but when we were on our paddy wagon tour, there was some conversations about maybe like the Irish versus London or Londoners or something like that, and it just seemed like there was an indifference maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because also we weren't directly exposed to it because we're American. So if we had an English accent, then maybe we could have spoke to that. But clearly, we were more outsider. We didn't see anything that sort of spoke to that necessarily. Not that I can think of. I think if anything, there was maybe, but that wouldn't even count. Not in Ireland proper. In Northern Ireland, which again, that's a whole, I don't want to touch that debate. We're just saying,
we don't know enough.
When we say Ireland proper and then Northern Ireland separate, it's just because the definition right now is that Northern Ireland's part of the UK. That was more of a touchy thing, right? Where we were sure that some people in Northern Ireland view that as Ireland, and people in Ireland probably view that as Ireland. But then other people in Northern Ireland probably view it just as part of the UK, and they're glad that it's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not touching on that. We're just trying to give the definition. But there was, like, when we went to the Titanic Museum in Belfast, you see some of the history of like conflict between like Northern Ireland and the English and stuff. So yeah, in terms of like present day direct any sort of animosity toward the English, I can't think of any examples. Ireland was pretty it was just pretty Irish, you know?
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
Yeah. I'll try to think on that, but I can't think of anything. There's a big rivalry with a lot of towns and cities in the UK: Manchester, Liverpool, Edinburgh, and Glasgow, Newcastle, and Sunderland. Yeah, definitely Edinburgh and Glasgow. We saw in the comments, like, you'll be a lot of people saying Edinburgh is,
Oh, yeah.
it's a terrible city. Like, you should have come to Glasgow. Glasgow was part of the route as well originally, but it was just like a short stop. We weren't going to fly from Edinburgh to Belfast. Weren't we going to do like Glasgow and then take a public transport down, take a ferry to Belfast?
But I think after our experience in Liverpool, we decided we didn't want just half days in places.
Yeah.
So we just did Edinburgh. But also we did have, when we were in Belfast, we stayed in an Airbnb, and there was this lovely couple from Glasgow who were in the Airbnb, and I chatted with them just for a little bit. And we had told them that we were in Edinburgh, and they said, "Are you going to go to Glasgow?" And I said, "No, we had to cut it out, whatever." And they were like, "No, you have to go back. That's where the beauty is." But they were from Glasgow, so obviously they had like lots of pride in their home.
We know there's a completely different vibe there. So like next time we're in Scotland, we're definitely
going to go. Yeah.
So we can compare and contrast. But that is not the couple, by the way. When she says there was a lovely couple in the hostel or the little Airbnb in Belfast, it's not the one that was arguing next to us. Although we did meet him the next day.
And he was all right. Yeah.
He was all right.
It's fine. No one calls it the Elizabeth Tower. I think the reason we're and Brian is so adamant about calling it that is because we did have comments of people.
So many comments.
Correcting us.
And nowhere else, by the way, and this is not a knock against London or Londoners, but when we first started releasing these vlogs, I mean, we'd never been out of the country. And this whole trip wasn't like we read a book about, the history of the place we go to before we go there. We're just taking everything in real time. Most places that we went, like Edinburgh, for example, sure, you have your negative comments or people pointing things out that you might have gotten wrong. But those first few vlogs were just 80% of the comments were nice, but 20% of the comments were like brutally just trying to rip apart our subjective fun experience in London, that we were kind of worried. We're like, is everybody going to be like this for all these places that we go if we get something wrong, or if we, God forbid, like take a route to the place we're going that isn't the best route that someone else would recommend. And again, if you're from London, like this doesn't apply to you. This applies to the Londoners in the comment section that left the comments. It turns out that looking back on the trip as a whole on YouTube, it's mainly just Londoners that took issue with the way that two Americans did things in their city. Everybody else was like either pointed things out or was just happy that, people were having a good time in the places that they live. But Londoners in particular just seemed to like need to
point it out.
Yeah.
And it was also hard too, like these videos were weeks behind. So we appreciated the advice that people had given us. But it was like that part was already over. Like our first day in London, we walked like, I don't know, probably close to, 3 hours that day, but our route was all messed up. Like but we were just walking and exploring, but some people took issue with like, wow, you should have done it this way and this way. But I don't regret it because we got to see like a lot of the city on foot. Yeah.
And it's when you're in a city that you've never been, and a city that I think London is the largest or one of the largest cities on earth. It might be like the largest. I don't know. That's an example. That's just me saying something. I would have to look into it after saying it. But when you're just in a city you've never been, all you can really do is you put in where you want to go to Google Maps, and we follow that route that it's taking us to get there, the most direct route. So sure, we could have, I guess, looking back on it, we could have walked along the Thames to get to Borough Market, but we didn't know anything about London. We know that we're in Westminster area. We want to get to Borough Market. This is going to tell us how to get to Borough Market.
Yeah, we have never claimed to be historians. And the whole thing was like, we're these Americans who've never done anything, never been out of the country exploring. So, and we weren't really doing it for efficiency either. Like we were just there to explore, but we can move on because we've kind of hammered that in. Would you still use hostels again?
Depends, but mostly no, I'd say.
So if I was solo traveling, yes. But what we had realized later in our trip was like, it was a very, very small difference in price from getting a hotel room than paying for two people in a hostel, because we were paying like for 2 beds and stuff in a hostel compared to like a budget hotel where we could have privacy. Most likely it was cleaner or quieter. So I think it depends. Like we had a beautiful hostel bunk bedroom private in Lisbon,
Yes.
and we loved it. And we would go back. Like if we ever go back to Lisbon, we'll probably go back there because it was great.
Yeah. But hostels are also it's just so hit or miss, you know, and you try to go by the best rated one that you find on Hostel World or something, but it all just depends. And then you just never know who you're going to get, what batch of people. We didn't choose party hostels. We never chose a party hostel, but sometimes you're going to get a group in Barcelona of like 4 college age girls who want to come in at like 4 a.m. and be really loud. Or you're going to get some guys in Prague, 2 German guys traveling together who insist on opening all the windows in the dorm room.
So you hear
the loud, like Prague city outside. Yeah.
Yeah. It just depends.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not like wildly social either.
Yeah.
So we weren't there to make friends. That kind of sounds bad, but we were there to just explore, and a hostel was because it was cheaper.
Yeah. I mean, we did like in London, you know, we
had met one friend.
Yeah. But, and we weren't like closed off to it. It's just, we weren't going to go out of our way cause we'd get up and then we'd spend maybe 8 hours out in the city, most of it walking. So by the time we get back, we're kind of tired and we have like places we want to see the next day and we have to move on in a day or 2. So we weren't out to be like, okay, let's go party till 3 a.m. Cause for us, it's like, we want to get up and feel rested so that we can
have another full day. Yeah. The answer is move to the UK. We get about 6 weeks holiday per year by the law. That's kind of hard to comprehend. That's amazing.
That is nice. Yeah.
The most that we got at our old jobs was 3 weeks, but that was like a new policy that came in like the last like 8 months we were there. So 2 weeks max for us when we started. Sorry, let's go up from here.
How did you find the contrast of American suburbia compared to the more urban fabric of European cities and good public transport? Yeah, I mean, I guess at first we weren't really even, like the tube in London would be our first like public transport that we used.
Mm-hmm.
And it was super easy.
Incredible. I have nostalgia for the tube.
Yes. But we didn't really use too much public transport. Maybe that was something we should have done. Like when we were in Liverpool, for example, that would have been the opportunity to use buses to get around. If we wanted to go to the stadium or wanted to go to some of these, like the homes of the Beatles or something, I guess we could have gotten on a bus, but we were still in this mindset of let's just walk around and take in the city and see what's within walking distance. So I think Dublin was the first place where we got to where we're like, we're going to take advantage. There's not like an underground system, not that I'm aware of in Dublin. So we're going to take advantage of, we want to get across the city. So you got to take a bus. And then we started branching out.
Yeah, we got more comfortable with public transport.
But coming from the US where it's just, I mean, big cities here do have public transport, but it's pretty uncommon for most people, you know, if
yeah. I mean, everyone if you're lucky enough, you get a car when you're 16 and that's just,
yeah, you
have a car. I don't know. Like, I literally don't know what I would do without having a car.
Yeah.
But also too, I don't know if we were in many, like we were mostly in bigger cities. I think we only had a small opportunity of like Metz was kind of more of a smaller place to see like actual homes and like normal life. Saint-Avold. Yeah. Also, where were we at?
When we were in Bern, when we walked to Girton, we walked through a large residential section.
Welsh.
Cardiff.
Cardiff. Yeah, Cardiff. I actually was comfortable enough to walk by myself to get our laundry done, like a 20-minute walk through a neighborhood. So it all felt relatively like normal, I guess.
Yeah.
Or comparable, if that answers your question, Oracle.
Yeah. But it's also that thing too of a lot of people would comment, and I don't mean to sound like defensive about comments and stuff, like, but it's just, if anybody was wondering, you know, there were people who would comment like, oh yeah, you think Edinburgh's great, but you're just hanging out in the touristy part of it. Like, come to this section of Edinburgh and you'd never want to come back. Or people said that about other cities. But like, yeah, we're 2 tourists. We're only speaking to our experience as tourists. You know, we know every city has like residential sections, more rundown sections that people don't see very often. We're not going to hang around in those sections of those cities because we're tourists. So we're only hanging out in what the tourism board like does up for us to see. So that's all we're speaking to. We don't want anybody thinking like just because we really love this particular city, we're saying like this is the best place you could ever live or something like that. It's just us saying the architecture is beautiful, the things we're doing are fun, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. So we got a count, a Lauren photo taking count, but I really want to know is how many slappable moments did Brian commit? Do you have a number or too many to count? Oh my gosh, too many to count. No, Brian really, I'm the slappable one. Like he's a very, very easy partner. So, he's got his faults, don't get me wrong, but he was the grounding force, I think, during a lot of our trip. He is, I'm complimenting you, okay?
No, I know. But
he's very, sure and confident and stuff. I'm not as much. So anytime I would have like a very anxious type of moment, he would be able to just like bring me from a 10 to like a 2. So.
But I see you, Radio Jammer. You've been calling for that Brian slappable counter for quite a few videos now.
He did do some like silly stuff. I'm trying to think, but.
Yeah, that's just our dynamic too. Like we constantly mess with each other. And so I don't know like how much of it comes through on the video is like that's just our dynamic, or sometimes it seems like we're like
at each other's throats.
Yeah.
That's how we fell in love too. Like we were friends at our news station, just picking and poking at each other. Yeah.
Given that cash level issues, seeing the ways you rebooked trains in the UK with no need was heartbreaking. I bet you had no rail card too. Yeah, here's the thing.
Thank you for acknowledging that. Yeah.
As far as the rail travel stuff goes, we've learned, but when we were over there, we made a lot of mistakes with that.
We kind of panicked.
We kept using a third-party app too, which was difficult if things changed.
Yeah.
So that wasn't good. And like a lot of those policies over there too, like we just kind of weren't aware of. Like I think there was one that I think it was you, Scott, in the comments pointed out in Edinburgh when there was that delay that we could have gotten money back, or some sort of.
Oh my goodness. But like we were was it France the first time? No, it was Switzerland was the first time that, maybe it wasn't Switzerland. It wasn't the first time, but at some point, this is what it was. We were on our way to Bern. And we had, the train was supposed to take us all the way to Bern, but it stopped where?
Stopped in Waterford or something?
Yeah, Waterford. And
is that a place? That might not be what it's
Waterford,
called.
Maybe something like that. But
something like that.
A bunch of us were still on the train waiting to go because like the little TV in the train said it's going to end at Bern. And this super rude attendant kicked us off and kicked the rest of the people off. So we were just like, what do we do? And then we went in and got a number and asked, and we just got another ticket and waited like, I don't know, 25 minutes or something. So that was good. But yeah, we definitely, we lost a lot of money on stupid, silly things. So.
But it's also one of those things too. Our travel days were terrible, but it kind of added to the trip. Like first of all, it added more
years to my life.
Drama for like the vlogs, I guess, right? Yeah. Like it gave opportunities for like the little coming up next week to be like have moments of stress, because the majority of the trip was just us going like, whoa, that's awesome. Whoa, look at this stuff. And so we didn't plan for there to be like drama. We're just kind of playing it out in real time, but
the reality
was drama a lot of the time. Yeah.
What breed is he? Nimbus is, well, first of all, we haven't done a DNA test on him, which we want to, but he is a Catahoula lab mix, but he's tiny.
Yeah, he's very little for a lab and a Catahoula.
It's like if you put him in like a machine and shrunk him down, like that's what
I call him a Labrador.
Because he's a short little guy, but
he's got a nice curly tail.
And thank you. He is very sweet. And he's napping, thank God. We had we have a bunch of treats and stuff prepared if he goes wild, which I'm sure he will. He won't nap for the next 2 hours, but.
Ashley Davis is a name that I've seen. I think Ashley's commented on pretty much every single.
And from Kearney, yes, Kearney is where where we lived before, where I was an anchor. So thank you for the support, Ashley. That's so kind.
And I want to say, I could be wrong about this, so Ashley, let me know, or maybe it's further down, but has your mom been watching the videos too? Because there is another Davis from Kearney who has commented on a lot of videos. So my assumption throughout the whole time was that was maybe your mom watching the videos too, and maybe you guys had been like NTV viewers, and that's how you would come across Lauren. So yeah, let us know like how you sort of came across all this.
And we wish you well. We do go back. We have family in Kearney still, so we go back every few months. It's still a very special place to us. Really enjoyed the Edinburgh videos. Hope you enjoyed Edinburgh's. I mean, we get to look at these every day. Yeah. So it's should we just say it's our number one place on the trip? It is our number one place on the trip. It remained, we had a list. I still have it. We had a list. Each of us individually had a list of all the cities. We ranked cities, yeah. And every time we get to a new place, we'd think about like how we feel about it, and then we'd like put it in our ranking. And Edinburgh was at the top. I think the only one that ever really challenged it was Paris, for obvious reasons. And Athens, and then we went back to Edinburgh. And yeah, it's amazing how you can do like 24 cities and then come back to Edinburgh, and it's like, no, this is still like we were worried like maybe it's just because we hadn't been to many places, and if we come back, maybe it's not going to feel the same. But there's something about Edinburgh that immediately it was like, we know why we fell in love with this place. Yeah, it's very special. Loved your journey. Thanks for sharing. I'm an Edinburgh expat living in the US, and the best thing I can say is I was so homesick watching you. I hope you try Germany in the summer. Yeah, Germany in the summer would definitely be. Absolutely. And maybe some more of like Bavarian Germany. We did kind of like bigger, more modern cities. So seeing some like Bavarian architecture would be really cool, and some smaller towns and beer halls and things. But how lucky to have your home be Edinburgh. That's awesome. My mom asked, do I miss her? Not right now. I talk to her like once a day, but love you, Mom. Pasta, standard hostel food, and toast. Yeah, pasta was, we had pasta, pot noodles when we were in the UK, getting a pot noodle or two. Definitely trying to just eat for cheap. Yeah. Good day from a very wet Wales. Hello there. What part of Wales, by the way, David Bolton? He might say later down. I see a few more. And sorry, we're taking a long time to answer these questions. We want to address like all of them. Yeah, so try to be thorough. Yeah, and we still have 2 more hours. So that's very kind, kids. I'm from London, lived in Liverpool, and now live in Edinburgh. So you locked me in with those early destination. Yeah, if there's anybody, if we were gonna lock anybody in, it was Scott, because our first 3 places were the 3 places that he's lived. Yeah, and when we go ahead. We will be back. And we don't know when that is, but we would love to meet you. Yes. Yeah, that's true. If we're ever like back over in those places to do like little like meetup or something like that, that'd be awesome. We know like a huge majority of you are from the UK. Actually, the large majority of our viewership is UK based, which we weren't expecting. We started doing these videos more thinking we just wanted like to show Americans and maybe inspire younger Americans like you can do a trip like this. So we thought like our videos were maybe going to connect more with people back here, like seeing Europe through like a new traveler's eyes. But it turns out that it's mostly people who wanted to see their homes through a new traveler's eyes. And so, but also, I think I told you this months ago, but correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but Scott, where the tower with the red in it? Yes. Which is like, I think it's a museum. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but that's where he works. Oh my gosh. Wow. I think that's where he works. Well, yeah, I mean, we'll definitely be in Edinburgh again, multiple times in our lives, but we don't even know when, but we would love to meet you. Yeah, we always just call it the tower with the red in it, but that's probably my favorite structure in the whole city. Yeah. What was the approximate cost, if you don't mind? Please ask any questions. Like, we're very, very open. Yeah. We're going to do a video where we break it down exactly. We'll have pie charts. We'll have lots of different things, but about 23,000. I mean, we had around 12,000 in savings, and then we literally maxed out our credit card, which had 12,000 on it. So, and if we had been smarter from the start with grocery shopping and things, we probably could have got away with 17,000, I would say, for the whole trip. But I mean, it's still. And also too, we had like Brian's sword he paid it with his own money.
Yeah.
I kind of went crazy on buying souvenirs for my family. So with that money, I just put it into our shared account. So paid it off. So that kind of stuff didn't really add as much.
The Playhouse is quite hard to miss. You probably walked past it multiple times.
Definitely.
Probably did, yeah. It's Collins, very devastated. Yep.
Thank you, Mom.
Hi from New York City. Playhouse is hard to miss if you head down Leith Walk, which they didn't do until the return trip.
Yeah, that was it. Yep.
Yeah, we kind of went did this big circle, and then as we were about to come around to it, we were like, "Oh, Colton Hill," and then we went up Colton Hill, and then we just saw the Playhouse from above, and we were like, "Okay, we've seen it."
But coming back, we saw it the lights and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Traveling can be stressful. You want things to go to plan, but rarely that happens.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's the truest of the true.
Yeah. That sums it up basically.
It's Brad. Brad's crazy life. Brad is the one, him and his family traveled to the UK. And it was sort of our videos were maybe the sort of spark that showed that was possible.
That's amazing.
So yeah. It's awesome that you had a good time there too. And I think you said Edinburgh was maybe your favorite place as well. So it's not just us, Americans.
Yeah, we get it.
Going over there seem to fall in love with it. Did you ever regret? Go ahead.
You forgot this one.
Oh, sorry, Charleston. What a sword! I honestly thought it would be. Like a tiny little. No, I went with a full-on sword.
It was like €285, 50 for shipping, and we sent it to his sister's house in Kearney.
Yeah.
And didn't tell her either. He was just
Brian was like, "Hey, look out for a package." And then when I got there, she was like, "What is this?" And I opened it, and I'm like, "It's a sword."
Yeah.
Behind every man is a fantastic woman. Where?
Bro, see, this is a slappable.
I don't see one.
Wow, that's
rude. Is there one in the teeth ball? Yeah, there's one right there. She's wearing what you're wearing though. Look, she's wearing a red turtleneck. So even behind me, there's a woman in a red turtleneck.
And I'm wearing
jeans. So Lauren literally is in the tea towel right now. So I guess you're right. I can't even get around it.
I've given you so many compliments, by the way, in this, and that's been tough for me too.
Yeah. Bearing in mind some of what you said about eating out, I thought you had a good mix of planned and spontaneous events. Yeah, that we kind of wanted to be. We wanted it mostly to be spontaneous. But certainly when we got to, I guess we were in Milan. And we had a few weeks left on the trip. That's when we were like, too many things have gone wrong. We don't want any more unnecessary stress. So now we're just going to completely plan everything out.
Mm-hmm.
So, one thing, when you just visit cities and major places, you do not really see the country. So there's always a good reason to. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, we certainly know, for example, London. London is not representative of England. Edinburgh is not representative of Scotland. We know that all of these cities, they're just big major hubs. So, definitely in future trips, we do now that we've seen the big cities, we do want to hit smaller places. Mm-hmm. And there were smaller places in some countries, on the route, but once we started getting into it, we were like, we can't do one day this place. So places started getting cut out, and it ended up just being the major cities.
Did you ever regret having to film most days because it could become very time consuming? And were you ever close to actually stopping making the vlogs?
No. And I think there were a few comments of people saying just put down the camera, you're going to miss stuff. And I totally understand where that comes from. But, we knew from the start that we wanted to film it. 1, for just our own purposes. 2, for our family to be able to see it. And 3, because we wanted to make these things into vlogs. We were inspired by other channels who did travel vlogs and things. So it was always the plan. You see our very first video on the channel is us saying in a year, we're going to quit our jobs and travel and stuff like that. So it was always the plan with the channel. And for every city we visited, there might be, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours total of footage for 48, 72 hours worth of stuff. So every place that we went, we get the little bit of footage of the initial reaction and things like that. But then the phone goes away and we always gave ourselves plenty of time to fully soak it in.
Yeah, that was important. Like the Charles Bridge in Prague, for example, we like had like it took us by surprise. We were just in awe of it, and we had a few moments to just soak it in. Then we got our pictures, and then we literally would look at each other and say, okay, phones down, let's enjoy this.
Yeah.
So we had the best of both worlds. And we had talked about that before the trip too, saying like, we want to have an even balance because we're not doing this for YouTube or anything like that. Like this trip is for us, but we want to document it. So let's find an easy way to do that. And we're so lucky that we did, because we get to rewatch them now. And one day we can show our kids these videos, and a lot of the stuff like we have forgotten. So when I look back at a video, I'm like, oh, I forgot that happened on that train or something. So it was 100% worth it.
Yeah.
And we never stopped making the vlogs. I will say though, when we got home, we had a hard, clean cutoff from vlogging. We flew into Cleveland and we spent a week with Brian's family, his dad. And we were burnt out from vlogging. We just
which wasn't the intent. We did intend to, when the plane takes off, we intended to either in the continuation of that last vlog or have another vlog where it's like us touching down in the US, because a lot of people wanted to see that too, like those first impressions of like, we've been on this trip for 91 days. Now we're like back home. But yeah, the phone just never came out, and neither of us were like, hey, we're going to like film. It's just like, I think the trip was the trip, and we had a lot ahead of us too. Like, I mean, we were exhausted from 91 days, but like when we got back, we didn't go straight into, we had like an apartment that was waiting for us, but we had to wait a whole month to move in. We applied for it when we were in Switzerland. We got it, but we had a week in Ohio, a week to kill in
Wisconsin with my family.
Yeah, a week to kill with my sister in Kearney. Then we came here to Colorado for a few days, then went back to Kearney to pick up our stuff out of storage, and then moved into the apartment. So like that month we still had a lot of on the go to do. So,
and we were both unemployed. We didn't have jobs locked in. I didn't get my job offer until we were in Kearney, like 2 weeks before we had the apartment. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
We kind of spiraled in a bit.
Yeah. We never considered ending. And also too, like, one, we don't remember the trip through a camera lens. All of our memories were like us taking it all in. And two, and two, like we had a few weeks into the trip, then we started releasing the vlogs. And so we had people like you guys who, I mean, there was a little bit of a sense like people are kind of like, they're excited to see these next videos. So like people are depending on us, but also once people actually started caring about the channel and we saw like huge, like the Edinburgh video just completely took off, then it was like, there was no second thought about filming anything,
I also think too, it helped to just have a phone to do it. It wasn't this process of filming. We just took it out of our pockets or like purse or something and did it real quick. And that was it. So.
Yeah. We would have been taking pictures and videos anyway. So, the only extra was maybe like, all those shots of like over the shoulder, Lauren walking in front of me and me filming stuff behind, like.
And we did have one specifically, and we'll get to more questions, so we don't have to dive into it, but I left my purse at a restaurant in Paris, and that was a moment that Brian knew I was on the verge of a literal mental breakdown, a panic attack, and it would have been great for the vlog, but in the moment, he could read me that if he pulled the camera out, I would have lost it. Yeah. I would have just like freaked out and cried and
it wasn't, everything. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking it.
Yeah. So there were obviously moments that you guys don't see that. We decided not to film.
Yeah. Rude YouTube comments, unheard of. Yeah. We've gotten pretty good at we've gotten good at just weeding through, like understanding some people are just going to be rude on YouTube. A lot of people mean well, and we are aware of that, but there are some people who are just like, they watch it. There's like a 20-minute video of us in a city, and like there's one particular thing, like that's the thing you want to like hone in on. And some people would get upset at us for making a comment about something that maybe we didn't think was particularly impressive. And they're like, I don't know, like we understand it because it's a city you love and live in, but it's all subjective at the end of the day. So Good call in Glasgow. It's probably a better experience in a separate trip. It isn't Edinburgh. The difference might have been jarring. Edinburgh is better to visit. Glasgow is better to live. Interesting perspective. Okay. There are absolutely places to visit in Glasgow. It's worth doing in terms of your 3-month trip. Edinburgh and the Highlands were the right calls.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I just joined the chat. What was your favorite city? Edinburgh, Scotland was our favorite city.
And our top 3, it's Edinburgh, Paris, and Greece.
Athens.
Yeah.
Although we've also thought thinking about it, and as we were like at the end of the vlogs too, Athens and like London are kind of here for completely different reasons. So you could say London and Athens are tied for that number 3 spot. Did you guys actually see Greyfriars Robbie in Edinburgh? You went to Greyfriars twice, but didn't show the little fella anyways. No, that's the thing. So it was the first time around, we completely forgot about the Harry Potter stuff. And I don't even know if I put it, in the last vlog.
Wait, the cemetery Greyfriars?
Yeah, Greyfriars. Yeah.
No, we did that in the first vlog. Oh no, that was the second time.
But we didn't look for the Harry Potter names.
Yeah.
People pointed out to us, but then I think either they probably pointed out in the first time, but I honed in on like the Harry Potter names. We got to when we come back.
Yes.
We got to look at them, and then forgot about Greyfriars Bobby. So there's more there. There's also apparently, correct us if we're wrong, but isn't like Ebenezer Scrooge a name that's also?
I thought we saw it.
Did we see it?
Yeah. Or I'm misremembering that, but I'm pretty sure we did. Scotland was awesome.
Rented a car, went to Fort William, Glencoe. Yep. Hogwarts Express to see. You did the cool thing that I wish we had done, Brad, that we'll have to do next time. You rode like on the viaduct there then on the train, and we really want to see like that whole area. As a huge Harry Potter fan, obviously like wanting to wanted to see those areas of Scotland. Hi guys, we live in Fife and have been to Edinburgh many times, but you made us look at it a whole new way. You deserve far more subscribers, but keep at it though. Oh, thanks, Sharon.
That's so sweet. Thank you so much. South Wales, 20 miles from Cardiff. Mining, okay. I'm from Manchester, UK. Didn't we have a stop in Manchester during the whole saga with the lady on the bus?
No, that was Birmingham.
Oh, okay. Next time in the UK, please try the Cask Real Ale. You went to some real pubs on your last day in London, and I was willing to try the real ales, but you kept going for keg fizzy beer.
Next time we're in the UK and we go to some of the smaller like towns too, then we really want to get like that genuine just like pub experience. And those future trips might not be as, I guess it really depends. We still want to like vlog them and show our travels and always document them, but maybe there'll just be a night where we're like, we're not going to film anything, but we're just going to go like meet some people. And we want the next trip we do, we want to interact with locals more,
Yeah.
So
what was your favorite hostel, and would you recommend staying in a hostel? Sending major props from Boston.
Our favorite hostel was it in Prague? That was the nicest one, and we had a great experience with Stefan. But I think Lisbon might be our favorite hostel in general that we had. Yeah,
I'm trying to remember what it was called. Let me do a bit of research while we're sitting here. But the reason that we loved it is we got a private room, but it was bunk beds. But there was like a little sitting area, with like 3 windows, so like a little nook, and we sat there, and they had free coffee, like a free coffee machine. You can get lattes, hot chocolate, like whatever you wanted. And then they also had really good pizza, like stone fire pizza in there.
The Prague one was definitely like the nicest, cleanest, everything. But we were in like a dorm with other people, and 2 of the guys just insisted on keeping the windows open.
Oh, I wonder. I still have Hostel World on here, so I wonder if I can
find it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, if you guys have any questions, we literally have all of the hostels here. I forgot I had this on here.
It was called
Avenue Hostels and Suites. Yeah. So
would we recommend them? it depends what you're after. It depends on the experience you want. Certainly, if you are a bit less, I mean, we like the thing is, we were a couple who was more just like not out to go party at night. We were just there for like making a whole day of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're there for like a social aspect, absolutely hostels are going to be the best thing. A lot of times hostels too, they have things you can take advantage of. Like when we were in Barcelona, we didn't end up doing it, but every day there was like little guided tours and things that you could go with a group of people and go see certain things.
Yeah,
We'd have
yeah.
tour guides. There's a nice communal atmosphere. Like a lot of places will have like communal dinners and stuff where you could sit down and you really you can meet people. But if you're after pure comfort, or if you don't want to roll the dice on the experience you're going to get, and you just want to come back at the end of the day and have a peaceful evening, I wouldn't
look at a hotel probably, or a private room at a hostel.
Yeah. Although those are so much more expensive that a budget hotel we learned the budget hotels are the same price as the private rooms, or cheaper than two of us paying for bunks.
Like in Edinburgh, we stayed at a hostel our first round, and then we ended up just staying in a cheaper hotel, like a budget hotel, on our second way around, and it was a huge difference. So much nicer. Yeah. Tower with the Red is the hub and arts venue. My wife Claire has sung there. Probably mentioned that. I worked in Edinburgh's museums when you visited, but now I'm a teacher. Do say hi when by. We'll absolutely be in contact with you.
Yeah. The hub. Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, the hub is awesome. The fact that like an arts venue looks like that is just
insane. Yeah.
That's one of the things about a lot of those cities over there is just, even if it's just it doesn't matter like what it is, like even that's what I don't understand about the US. We don't necessarily have our own flavor, right? I mean, over over East, obviously you get a lot of Victorian stuff, mm-hmm. but like the US is just so modern. But I don't understand. You can have modern, but you can still dress it up in an awesome way. Like in Prague, like you go like along the road and like those are just like normal shops and things, right? Normal stores. But I don't know if like the buildings like used to be something else and then they just put modern stuff in it and kept the old architecture, or if they just said, we're going to keep it consistent with the architecture. We're going to make this place look awesome, even though it's just modern stores inside it. So I don't know why the US, we don't just have like, I mean, I get it's cost, right? A lot of it is just cost. And why are we going to make this place look really cool? But like, you could go to like a strip mall over here. Why can't they make it look like a castle, just for the sake of it? Why can't you put some towers and parapets and stuff like on? Like
our neighborhood is almost copy and paste. Like our neighborhood is
which again, like residential parts are, but
right,
our downtowns, like make them look cool.
Sorry, every time I scroll it brings me to the bottom, so we have to find where our place was.
Up a little bit, right here.
Oh, hi Brooke, thanks for joining in. Brooke was one of my really good friends in Nebraska at my TV station. So hi Brooke, miss you too. Perhaps meet up with somebody to let them take you on a car tour on the countryside. The in-between places are also unmissable. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. Or us just renting a car,
Yeah.
Doing it at our own pace would be really cool. A lot of those places in the Highlands that, we just kind of were between point A and point B. All that stuff is just so beautiful. So to be able to dip over there and check it out.
Yeah. I'm going to make another tea. I'll be back.
Yeah.
I'll be literally in the kitchen just right here listening in, but do you want another coffee or anything?
I would love one if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, B.
Also, Brian got this in. Picked this mug for today in London.
Yeah. Or next to last night there, because we had to find a Beatle shop to replace a pin that wasn't even a pin that I got in Liverpool. It was like oh yeah. Yeah. We'll have to show you some of our souvenirs here in a sec. Are you guys planning another trip next year? We definitely want to do some smaller, like kind of mini trips. We don't know where yet. There are some places in our own country that we've never been to that we want to visit. So it really depends. I think 2026 is going to we have ideas for places in 2026 that are going to be like big foreign adventures, but all of it's on paper right now. So we haven't committed to anything. I always remember the guy shouting in the hotel in Northern Ireland. Excuse me?
It's just me.
Yeah. See, that's an example. Sometimes he just spazzes out. The guy shouting in Belfast. We still quote that. There's still just moments that we quote, and that's certainly one of them. That was a fun fun night of just listening to them argue. And because the accent was so thick, I mean, people in there, even people in the comments were debating where these guys are from. And there were people in the comments saying, you know, they're from Glasgow, that couple's from Glasgow, or at least the guy's from Glasgow. And then there were other people saying like, no, I'm Scottish. They're not from there. They're from this way. We talked to the guy after, and I think he did confirm he was Glaswegian. So for what it's worth, the guy in that video was from Glasgow. I don't know if that means he was born there, but I think he said he was just from Glasgow. So I assume he's Glaswegian. So yeah. Yeah, the guy shouting, that was very, very interesting. And it's just an example again of rolling the dice on your accommodation. You don't know what you're going to get. And we just happened to get a couple. Like he got in there and he was like drunk talking on the phone to her for maybe an hour. And then he told her to come there. So she shows up there and we're just like trying to get in bed. We're just trying to get comfortable because, you know, we have a day to make of it the next day. And we hear like her coming up the stairs and then they're talking and then they go in and they just start arguing in the room next to us. So you don't know what you're going to get. Any other comments on the couple arguing? If anybody just popped in, Lauren is making some tea and coffee. Do you have any other comments about it, B? Did you design your logo? Yes, we did. Lauren actually is the one who designed it. I think I had just a rough idea of what kind of elements I wanted, but she came up with a few different sketches of different things. And that was one of them, just like the globe with our two faces in it in profile. And it's simple enough, but I think it hopefully makes us stand out enough. Like it's an identifiable thing, like, oh, that's that travel channel. So yeah. I'd love to see you hire a car next time. So, oh yeah, hire a car some of the countryside outside the big cities. Yeah, we'll either do that or yeah, we'll just rent a car and really take our time with it. There were places even in England. We were initially going to go to Bath. That was originally like a day trip where they were going to hit a few things. Windsor, I think, was part of it, right? Windsor Castle, and I think Stonehenge was going to be in there too, and then Bath at the end of the day, and you spend a day in Bath and then come back to London. I don't know if it was a cost thing or I think we just sort of realized maybe on the way back, maybe the return trip to London, we would try that, and it just never materialized. So yeah, next time we're in the UK, certainly in England, we want to hit a lot of the smaller places because even though like, of course we want to go back to London, there's just so much to see there that is like that quintessential like English feel to some of those places. And so we want to experience that. Let's see. I feel finished cooking, so be quiet now. We're just on my favorite cities so far: London, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Paris, and Copenhagen. Aha. Yeah, we'll have to Glasgow and Copenhagen. We'll have to someday experience. But yeah, certainly London, Edinburgh, Paris. Those are all like in our top 5, Scott. So we feel you on that. But there's something special about every place that we went to. You know, they all kind of stand out in our mind. There's no like super forgettable place. Some of them are memorable for like not the greatest reasons in some cases, but like we enjoyed every place we went to. There's no place where we're like, that was miserable. So, but you can keep, by all means, Scott, like please keep commenting if you, I'm off now, but I just wanted to say I really enjoyed watching your travel series. I found the first Edinburgh vlog when COVID and watched every video since. Oh, thank you, Christy. Oh, it just jumped again. Down to Earth and Humble has been lovely to watch and look forward to future videos. Take care. Thank you, Christy. Thank you for popping in and chatting. We appreciate it. We appreciate you being here and watching so much of this adventure. That's, like I said, still crazy to us that that's even a thing that people have done.
Sorry that took so long.
Yeah, you're good.
But I'm back.
You're back. Apologies if this has been asked before. What are some of your other European bucket list cities?
Ooh.
European bucket list cities. It's tough because we've hit a lot.
Oh, we would love to go to like the Lake Como area, right?
Oh yeah, in Italy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just see the Amalfi Coast too. I really want to go to Toulouse. And I want to go to southern France, to some places in southern France too. We kind of were just up in the north, and it wasn't really the season for southern France, but going a better time of year, seeing more of the country. But yeah, like Toulouse was actually, it's interesting. When we were in, do you remember, I think it was in Madrid or Barcelona. We were on the roof and we had to make the decision. How do we do this? Do we go Bordeaux, Toulouse, or maybe it was Toulouse, Bordeaux, and then Paris was the original plan. And we were like, do we still do that? And then Toulouse, just like the accommodation, we couldn't get it figured out. So we dropped it and it was going to be like a day and a half Toulouse, a day and a half Bordeaux, and then Paris. We gave ourselves 3 days in Bordeaux instead. And Bordeaux ended up being like just a completely rainy experience. And it wasn't really like, wasn't quite the kind of experience to do, yeah. So maybe Toulouse would have been, so I wonder like what we were missing in Toulouse, or if it would have been kind of a similar thing.
And we also, well, Brian mostly got a cold while we were in Bordeaux. So we had these periods of time where we just needed rest. Porto was the first one. And then Bordeaux, we had tons of rest in Berlin. So Bordeaux was one of those places that I think our last night there, we didn't even leave the hostel until like 6.
Yeah. I was just sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're going 91 days, you need rest days. So.
But I'm trying to think of some other bucket list cities though. It is tough because like, all the big top ones that go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
Vienna would have been really neat.
Yeah. Yes. And it was always part of the plan to go to Austria.
It was last minute that we had to change it because we were going to spend New Year's Eve in Vienna, but the accommodation was just like kind of outrageous. And we also didn't plan it out in ahead like we should have. So obviously it was expensive, but going to Munich, I got to see one of my good college friends, so it worked out. But Vienna is a place that we kind of look back on and wish we could have had more time there. Yeah. Or gone there. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And doing like the Nordic countries is a thing too. That'd be cool to do next time.
Yeah.
We're in the area. But it's hard to say because like most bucket list cities that I've always had, we kind of hit, there might be like the obvious
European cities. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think everybody has those desires to go to places like London and Paris and Rome and things like that. So we definitely crossed those off and then some. Yeah.
Enjoyed seeing Europe through your eyes. If you were to pick somewhere else for a multi-country trip, where would it be? We've actually talked about this. We would love to go to like South Korea and Tokyo. Thailand would be cool. So probably, I don't know. What do you think?
Anything else? I definitely think if I was going to do another big trip, we might disagree on this.
Okay.
I have like a few bucket list trips that I don't know if we'll be able to do them to this extent, but like the Southeast Asia thing, a lot of backpackers do, right? Going through like Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Indonesia, those places. Then you can sort of bounce up and around if you want to hit other places like Japan and South Korea. A lot of the Balkans, I would like to go south through the Balkan Peninsula would be really cool.
Yeah, you'd mentioned that.
Obviously, New Zealand and Australia would be like kind of in a pocket there.
Whenever we get married, we're thinking 2026, but I think that's where we'll do a honeymoon, is we'll do Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
Edinburgh was my favorite place. We actually stayed there for 5 days. I saw a lot. What's the thing in Edinburgh you didn't do that you'd want to do if you could go back?
In Edinburgh specifically?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Honestly, we would have to do a bit more research. I would like to see Leeds like in the summer.
Oh, Leith, yeah.
Or Leith, I'm sorry. Leith in the summer would be neat.
Yeah.
I would do the Cauldron again too. That was fun.
Cauldron was fun. Going into taking advantage more like free museums and things, or even just like paid museums, getting a better sense of the city through a historical context. It's not really something that we did. We just kind of hit more we didn't really hit a lot of museums in general, and we can't sit here and pretend like we're like big museum people or like even art people, things like that. I think it's probably evident by the vlogs.
Yeah.
Like there's some places that we absolutely like. You can't not go to the Louvre if you're in Paris. You can't not go see Statue of David in Florence. But that's not like it's not why. It's not the thing that like excites us the most being in a city, you know. So I'm trying to think of like Edinburgh. Like there's plenty of things if we research, we'd be like, we got to go do that, got to go do that, got to go do that. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think we sometimes, further how lucky we are living in Europe. It's only a short journey to experience so many different countries and cultures. Totally agree with your choice of favorite cities. Yeah, David. The US is like this interesting thing. And like, I don't know if a lot of Europeans quite understand, like, I mean, certainly there are a lot of Americans who just don't have a desire to travel and things like that. It can seem like a lot of Americans are uncultured, but it's just because like we can drive. You can spend like 3 or 4 days driving across our country, and it's the same language. It's a lot of the same culture. You might get different accents and things. Yeah, you could spend like a day driving across one state. And you know, our country happened like if you want snow-capped mountain, beautiful mountains, like we live just like 20 minutes from a mountain range, and it's very beautiful. If you want like tropical, if you want desert, like, you know, our country is so vast that a lot of Americans are content to just get whatever experience they want, but not have to deal with the different currency, with the different language barrier, you know, any sort of language barrier. Flights domestic are expensive enough. And so like a lot of people, and it's a misconception. A lot of Americans, is one thing I want to point out to Americans thinking about traveling. Us flying to London, because we got the tickets far enough in advance, was cheaper than me flying from when I was in Nebraska home for a funeral in Ohio. So airfare is not that much more expensive, but of course it is like, you know, 6 hours one this way. And then if you're flying back to the US, it was like 8 hours. So it's those kinds of things. I think Americans just become very comfortable in our country, and very content to not do a lot of travel. But certainly like the beauty of Europe is that you can go from Portugal to Spain to France to Luxembourg to Belgium to Netherlands to Germany. You're all in this cluster, and it's sort of the equivalent of us traveling through states. But with us, you could spend a whole day driving, and you're seeing like a lot of like farmland and stuff, and it's just, you're just going from like, you know, Missouri, like Oklahoma, things like that. Over there, a few hours takes you over here to a brand new culture, brand new history, brand new language, everything so different. So, and also,
yeah, I think that, I mean, I grew up thinking that I would be lucky to go just out of the country. Like it's still crazy that we have done all of this because neither of our families really had the opportunity to go travel. We weren't like wealthy kids going out and going to Ireland for a vacation. We were going to like the beach or something like Florida or whatever. Yeah. So huge privilege to be able to go out. We are like very rare. Our experience is incredibly rare in like our circle of people and family and friends to have gone out. So yeah, you guys are incredibly lucky to live close, to be able to have not only trains to go to different countries, but like Ryanair we use. That was so nice. So
yeah, you guys have the public transport definitely helps. You know, there's a way even for Europeans who desire to see other countries in Europe, it's relatively inexpensive. So it's really cool that you guys have that, and it's something we're jealous of. But it's also, again, like hopefully our channel can go in some small way to show Americans considering traveling that it's not what you think. It's not this intimidating thing at all. I mean, there's a lingua franca, which happens to be English. If you want to go to Europe, doesn't mean don't learn phrases and things in some of the countries you go to. But outside of Metz/Saint-Avold and like a couple of conversations in like Porto, English was just fine. I don't want to sound like that's just us privileged Americans. Like, yeah, we just got by on English the whole time. Like I had to use French to like get your purse back and stuff like that. But
people could also look at us and just know.
Yeah.
And they would switch to English. So.
But yeah, if you're American, airfare is not like some huge thing you have to worry about. And when you get over there, it's just like any other place, you know? It's like if you're traveling to any other big city in the US for a holiday or something, you could do that. It's the same exact thing, you know? Yeah, you have to exchange currency. Yeah, there could be a little bit of a language barrier, but the majority of it is just you going and seeing these amazing things. And all the people around you are from different places too. So you're not alone in that. So if you're ever considering traveling as an American and you just thought it was this big thing, no, getting your passport's like the biggest thing. You just wait for that to come. And then from there, if you have the funds, you know, it's maybe instead of going to Florida for this vacation you have coming up, you know, if you have like 5-6 days you're going to do in Florida, maybe that's 5 days that you do in, you know, a city like London or Paris or something like that. You know, same sort of thing, just a little bit longer flight.
Raised in Edinburgh, visited Paris and Athens many times. Loved your series. Thank you. Thank you for watching, Nancy.
Yes.
Fat finger, small phone, keyboard, we get them.
Places like Edinburgh and World Heritage Sites, and you do have places where you cannot alter the facade, but the inside could be completely new and modern.
Yeah. Thank you, Cranky Taurus.
They were definitely Scottish. Yeah, that bickering couple were. Yeah, and they were so Scottish that we wish we knew if there's anybody who can like translate that entire argument for us, because we wonder what were they arguing about over there. You know, I thought the way he sounded, it was like she like cheated on him or something.
Yeah, the Glasgow accent was really thick. Like a lot of the times, the older couple that I talked to, I had to like look at the wife, and she knew like I couldn't really understand.
Yeah, we got swear words popped out at us, and that was sort of the accent of it.
But they were kind; they knew.
Mm-hmm.
So hi Oracle, that's okay that you had to leave. We have gone through every question or comment in order, but it would be a dream to go back, especially for a year. I don't know that either of us would really love to go back to school and get a master's degree, but that seems like a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I think I joked about it in the return vlog where I'm like, when we were in what was it? With the courtyard.
Yeah.
And
you said, let's go back to school.
Yeah, just for that.
Mm-hmm. Have to go. Though I look forward to the charts video. Glad to see you both surviving. Thank you so much. And thank you for your support and all of your comments and questions. Yeah. Lakes of Bath and Stonehenge are a bit far from London to just take the time out for first time trip. Yeah.
And that's the problem, man. There's so much to see in all of these places. So we could never hope to hit all of it. Okay.
So Alex, Liz, Annabelle, Barrett. Okay. So here. I did make this tea. Well, I heated the water up in a microwave because we don't have a kettle or anything yet. We just moved. It is something on my list to get, but that is not uncommon. The microwave we love. The coffee was made in an espresso machine. So like a Keurig, basically. But yeah, sorry. That is the American thing.
Yeah, how dare you?
I know. I knew. I heard the microwave and I was like,
Call it out.
But I respect it.
I love that it was in the background too. Like, you just heard like a microwave going, and it's like, oh my god, no, she's not.
I am. I did. I came late to the live stream and will definitely backtrack to watch the first 45 minutes. Did you get inspiration in your editing style from any YouTuber, or is it your background and natural eye? Just that good. That's very sweet. Brian did all the editing, so I'm gonna let our puppy in.
Editing style, I can't really pinpoint to one thing. It's just an accumulation of having watched a lot of travel YouTubers, travel documentaries. Like my favorite travel documentaries are Long Way Round and Long Way Down, and I guess now Long Way Up. The Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman motorcycling around the world. The first one going from London to New York, going east, and then going from John O'Groats, I think, northern tip of Scotland down to South Africa. And then I forget Long Way Up where they started. They didn't go all the way. They went to Los Angeles, but they started in the southern tip of South America. And I love An Idiot Abroad with Carl Pilkington. I love all three.
Oh, that's a good series. We haven't talked about that. Yeah.
And then just travel YouTubers and things. But it's just, I don't know, it's just in there like how I feel it should look, the right pacing of things. You want to feel snappy, but not like too fast. And I don't know. It just all kind of just came naturally and felt right as I was doing it. And I learned a lot as the earlier vlogs and the later ones. There's a little bit of an editing journey that took place too. I think hopefully they get a little bit better as they go along.
I also have to mention that I didn't do much of the editing, but talking about travel inspiration, Eamon and Beck are like my favorite YouTubers ever. If you haven't watched them, please go watch them. I have watched them for years. So they inspired me a lot to realize that this was an option for us. Like, obviously, we're not like them where YouTube is our job. And this doesn't feel like a job at all. Like, we're not here to make money. We just wanted to share our experience. But I adore Eamon and Beck. They're huge inspiration for me. Okay.
Stonehenge is overrated. You would be better visiting the Colonish stones on the Outer Hebrides. My favorite place on earth. Yeah, I guess it's one of those things. Obviously, like, Stonehenge is just so iconic, and even it's weird because I guess most of the things that are like big, like the must-see things, I can't think of too many that ended up feeling overrated.
Yeah.
Nothing really I can't think of anything that let me down. Like the Eiffel Tower. I'm sure there are so many people out there that think the Eiffel Tower is overrated. Because there's the novelty of it being like one of the most iconic things on earth.
Yeah.
And it always being present in the city. Like, we never got over it. And I think the same is true of things in Greece. What were some of the other, like, the major, obviously stuff in Westminster, like.
Yeah, the museum where we saw the statue of David in Florence was incredible. Yeah.
So maybe Stonehenge would have felt overrated, but I feel like, just given the nature of how amazed we were just to be able, and how like amazed, like just what it felt like to be able to see the stuff at all, and just the nature of the trip we were doing, I still think just seeing Stonehenge, yeah, it might have just been like, okay, there's some stones out, and it might have felt like stones out in the field or something like that, and but still just having the experience now, like, to say that we've done it would have been, I think, worth it to some extent. But that said, that doesn't mean that there aren't places that are like much, much cooler. So
also, Nimbus is eating lunch, so sorry if you hear him chomping.
Is your so good to Toulouse? If you do go to Toulouse, you should
see a rugby match.
Yeah, we were. That would have been really neat. We almost went to the rugby stadium in Cardiff, and I don't remember if it was just like that particular day, like the tours, like you couldn't do a tour that day or something. There was some reason why we ended up not going to that stadium. But we wanted to see, we also wanted to see the Liverpool stadium because my brother-in-law is a huge Liverpool football fan.
Yeah.
And so we were going to go just to be able to send him some videos and stuff, and we didn't get around to it, but there's always future.
I'm sure he'll go too.
Yeah, he needs to go. If you're watching this, Nate or Stephanie, if you're there, tell Nate, you guys just need to go to Liverpool. Just go to Liverpool. Yeah. No, Nimbus, don't eat the Christmas tree.
He likes taking the ornaments off the Christmas tree. Yeah. Even though we tell him repeatedly it's not a good idea.
Say hi to the people?
I came late to the live stream and we'll definitely backtrack. Oh, I think you already read this one. Sorry. Okay. The Baltic nations of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania are interesting places to visit too. Yeah, we would love to go.
Yeah. The architecture there looks really cool as well. Seeing a lot of castles and things in the Baltic countries would be cool. Arthur's Seat. Yeah, someone told us that Arthur's Seat, actually, the Calton Hill's the better view anyway. But there were also people saying go up Arthur's Seat. And we wanted to on our return that one day. We were thinking about it, but it was too wet.
Yeah, the weather was rough. It was Storm Jocelyn, and that happened the second time we were there, which we also got comments about people we had mentioned that it was a storm and they were like, a storm, it's just not a big deal. But it literally had a name. So that's why we refer to it as Storm Jocelyn. But it was tons of wind, nothing that we haven't seen before. But it was not ideal for us to go up Arthur's Seat. But when we go back, we will be there. And we're going to probably go in the summertime next time. You'd want to be back here in Edinburgh at a time when you can watch Saturday's Quidditch on the Meadows.
You're speaking my language, Scott. You're speaking my language. Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And
you're like, okay.
No, I thought it was funny. I laughed. Exactly, Mike. Yeah, going on a summer trip. And again, and we can go back and chat about this as well, but the reason that we had to go at this time was because I had a contract at my job. I was in TV and you're on a contract, and my contract ended in October. So it would have been amazing to go in the summertime, but we had no other choice but to go in the winter months. And I think it worked out well. I mean, we don't look back on the trip wishing it was summertime because the weather really wasn't as crazy as we thought it would be. And we also feel like places could have been way busier at a different time of year.
Ryanair and nice are two words I would never have ever thought I'd hear in the same sentence. And believe me, if we weren't like budget backpackers, like we would totally agree with you. But when you got to get from point A to point B and you can save a few $100, then that's...
Yeah. I mean, we literally, when we flew Ryanair, it was so cheap compared to prices out here. Like going anywhere domestically, it's like you're lucky if it's less than $300. Thank you, Simply Belinda. I appreciate that. As I recently reminded my son, Europe speaks English not because of America, but because of English Empire. Yeah. Would you guys ever consider living somewhere in Europe? Edinburgh is where we would live in Europe. We talked about like if we won the lottery, what we would do. And besides like the stuff that you always think about, like paying off debt or giving your family money, we would buy a home in Edinburgh and probably live there like half the time.
Yeah. Or somewhere in Italy would be nice.
I mean, if we had unlimited money, yeah.
Yeah. If we had unlimited money, we would just have like a home in every city and then...
Pretty much.
Maybe not Bordeaux. No offense to anybody from Bordeaux. I think we're probably safe. Currently, I don't think anybody in this chat is from Bordeaux, but...
Yeah.
Just join, are we right here?
Yeah.
I just joined the chat, was watching through your last London video first. So if it's not been asked already, what was it like going back to driving everywhere again and having no public transport? Yeah, I mean, the thing is, a lot of people have asked about like, was there culture shock or like a big whiplash when we got back? I think there would have been more of a culture shock. You can correct me if you feel different, but the fact that we still had to wait that month when we got back, like we had to kill a week in Ohio, a week in Wisconsin. Like we drove, there was like a day driving west and then we'd have a week, then we drive west and had a week. So we still kind of felt like we were on the trip in a way. We weren't like settled in. We didn't like come back from this big trip and then immediately have like jobs start the next day and like driving around neighborhoods and stuff. So we sort of eased into life back home. We weren't fully settled for another month. So I think like there was an acclimation that sort of prevented us from feeling this huge culture shock right up front. I
mean, I think because we hadn't driven in 3 months. So Brian went somewhere with his dad, like to lunch or something. And then I took his car later to like get Burger King. And I remember just getting in the car and it just feeling normal. Like it was all muscle memory and stuff like that. Cause I mean, it was only 3 months, but it was kind of surreal. Like I remember having this thought, like, do I remember the laws of the road? But it was all muscle memory, you know? And I think that we just appreciated how the public transport is in Europe, like the tube where, like London was our last place on the trip that we had gone. So we wished like, in Denver, there was something like the tube. On your next visit to Europe, you should visit North Queens Ferry to admire the Forth Bridge for an afternoon trip. Thank you for that. We'll be taking notes and mental notes too on some of your suggestions. Oh, yeah. The dog needs to join the video also. It's part of the family too. He is. He's basically our everything right now. He's like as demanding as a child, probably. So, but I'm just glad he's being chill right now. On your visit back to Edinburgh, the view from Blackford Hill is really nice to go. Most folk go up to Colne Hill and Arthur's Seat. People near Central. Fun fact, Edinburgh has 7 hills. Interesting.
Nice. Loved your videos from the beginning. Wishing you both happy holidays and can't wait to see what's like. Oh, thank you, Steve.
Thank you so much, Steve.
It's very emotional watching you travel to where your great-grandfather served in the war.
Thank you so much. That was incredibly emotional for me, and we didn't film it out of like respect, but I can kind of tell you a little bit of background about what it was like when we were actually in the cemetery. So, like I said, I grew up hearing stories about my great grandfather, and my granny was only 2 months when he died in the war, and she's still around. She lives like 30 minutes away. But yeah, their love story, my great grandma and his love story was something that we had always kind of heard growing up. And my dad went and saw the grave when he was stationed out in Europe. So I had a picture of him, but before we left, my dad gave me the red folder that you see in the videos with all the information that he had about where to find his grave, and also like a picture of the letter that my grandma Dottie, so my great grandma, had when she got news that he had died in the war, like the official letter and stuff. So when we went and we actually found it, I was just like brought to tears immediately. And I think it was for a few reasons. He was just this person that we had talked about, but actually I felt like it was a physical, like, I actually got to see him, even though it was just this stone grave. Like, wow, he was like actually a person. Does that make sense? But I also felt the distance because we had traveled so far and we were in Saint-Avold, and I felt the distance, and I just felt so bad that I never got to come home. And I FaceTimed my parents. It was 4 a.m. their time, but I wanted to show them like while I was there in front of it. So yeah, it was so incredible. And my granny now gets to have these like updated pictures and videos of her dad's resting place.
Yeah, the fact that you were only the third person ever who had the opportunity to go see it.
Yeah, my dad went and my aunt had gone, but and one of my dad's cousins has seen it. So I guess I was like the fourth person in the family to see it. And I know my brother, my older brother and younger brother would love to go see it at some point, but that was something that was a non-negotiable on the trip for me. And Brian was, of course, so excited to go as well.
Yeah, and that was first of all, that there were just like these touchstones along the trip that were just personal. That seemed to revolve around grandparents or great grandparents. Not that I would have preferred mine not to exist, but I still felt like it was meaningful. You had that one. There's also just a weird little, because like he had like Colorado, I think, on his gravestone, right? And the one right next to it was Ohio, and I'm originally from Ohio. She's originally from Colorado, so like these two, it's just those other things. If you're looking for signs, like
that's so true.
And also to be in Prague, like I watched the live stream of my grandma's funeral in the hostel in Prague, which again, like her family lineage is from what would have been Czechoslovakia, but the Czech Republic part, or Czechia part of Czechoslovakia at that time. So just these strange opportunities to just have like this, not transcendent, but it was just something. But kind of, yeah. Yeah, you to be there to visit your great grandfather, me to be there in the motherland, essentially, of my grandma's whole side, watching her funeral. Like it was more than just us going and seeing some cities and saying, oh, cool, the Eiffel Tower. Like there were other moments, us getting engaged on the trip, like these more emotional touchstones. It wasn't just a holiday. So
yeah. And I was surprised that I got so emotional at the grave. Like I literally, Brian can attest to it, I like cried. Again, he was generations removed from me, but it was just it was really special. And also in Prague too, we got his mom there was like this souvenir shop thing that it was all local handmade like pieces and souvenirs from Prague, or this. Can you speak better to it?
Yeah. It was like
I'm tongue-tied right now.
Yeah, handmade stuff, and we got there were like a pair of like twin angels, and so I gave my mom those, and like one would represent my grandma and one would represent my mom, and
one of them is on her tree now.
Yeah,
Brian's mom's Christmas tree. So
just
very
being
special.
from Czech Republic, I just felt a little more meaningful.
Yeah. Okay, so I just about Ryanair. Then they get you from A to B safely. EasyJet or another airline that are worth using too when you're back in Europe, definitely. And yeah, we knew you were joking, but I mean, we also get it too. I was kind of nervous about flying Ryanair. It's like Spirit Airlines here in the States. You're like, if you want to fly the plane, book your ticket on Spirit.
Yeah.
Personal question, what are your ages? I will be, well, I'm 26. I turn 27 next month.
Yeah. And I'm 33.
Okay. You really made me feel grateful for living an hour from Edinburgh, not to brag. How did it feel when that video blew up? Would you also, would also recommend Budapest for your next one?
Yeah, Budapest is, I guess, another really good one.
Yeah, we're jealous that you do live an hour from Edinburgh, but I'm glad that we can remind you how amazing it is. It was surreal. Like when that video started, because we were used to just a couple thousand, like first off, a couple hundred views and then 1,000. And I don't know, we were like 4K is when we would feel like they would top out. So when it was hitting like 20 and 30,000, we were like,
yeah,
wow.
The London video, first London video came out. And then when the second London video came out, they took off. The first one blew up and it hasn't gotten many since, but it hit like, it was in the 20, maybe 23,000 or something in the early part of that trip. And then the second one did really good too. The third one did about the same as the second one, but a little less. Then the Liverpool video like kind of killed the momentum a bit. And I was like, oh no, maybe it's just this thing. Like obviously people interested in the start of this trip, but then it dipped down. So I was like, okay, maybe the rest of them are just going to kind of be like what the Liverpool video was. But then the Edinburgh video just immediately spiked. And then it had a second coming. Like the first one, it got up. I don't know how much it got to, maybe around like 50K or something. Then I remember distinctly being in Rome when it had the second surge and it like got almost 100,000 in a few days. So you never know, like it's very surreal and it's a little nerve wracking because like there's so many comments coming in and you're trying to reply to everybody. And then you're inevitably going to get those people who are being critical in the comments. So you're like trying to enjoy this trip that you're on and like be thankful for the people who are watching the videos. But then you always have to contend with a few people that are deliberately trying to troll. We definitely had some troll comments who were like trying to get a rise out of you and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then that kind of affects like, I'm just trying to have a nice meal here in Italy. And like, I got to think about this person on YouTube that's like talking about, stupid stuff. So,
but we were really grateful that it blew up.
Yeah.
To bring you back. Okay. How many times did the scary green Lauren appear when hungry? I think I was on the verge of it like almost every day. Yeah, I was pretty much the one who was like, okay, it's time to eat. Because Brian can like fast like all day. I can't.
I have no comment.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I really appreciated the war grave episode too. My great grandfather survived mustard gas as a teenager in the summer long enough for me to know him. Those places are sacred. Absolutely. Oh, there we go. I apologize. Yep.
Yeah. First of all, that's surviving that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
As a teenager, I know that's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Places like that, the atmosphere, it has its own unique atmosphere being in there. So quiet and still. But if you take a moment just to like really reflect when you're in there about why all of those graves are there and knowing that, that grave, the one in Saint-Avold was large and knowing that that's just like one of many and probably on the smaller side of it.
Yeah. And it was crazy that was not the first, but like in recent years, the most, I don't know. Have you ever been to an American cemetery?
No, not for
yeah, but seeing all of the white identical stones it takes your breath away, honestly.
And knowing that was just American soldiers,
Yeah, yeah. And being in France, like everything about it was just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
My condolences when you lost your loved one over there. So sorry.
Thank you, Nancy. Yeah, it was unexpected, but
yeah,
we found a way to feel meaningful and to get through it. Yeah.
Yeah, and her family was very supportive. We were on the phone with them like most of the day. I kid you not, we had United Airlines up on our computer ready to stop the trip to come home, but without them giving us their blessing, we were able to go through.
Yeah.
So When are you getting married? Probably 2026, but we're just establishing ourselves. We are giving ourselves this whole year to get jobs. I mean, Brian is just now getting his second job where we feel stable. So
20, I mean, yeah, we know definitively, like when we know definitively 2026, but it's just we don't have an exact date yet. Because
Yeah.
next year is when all the big planning is going to happen. It would have been
Right.
hard to come back from the trip and like
jump into
get the
it
living situation, get the job situation, all of that,
and start
plan
planning a wedding.
So
And I initially did, like when we first got here, I had a ton of anxiety when we got back. Like getting back into normal life was really hard, actually. So I had like the first morning, I remember I was jet lagged and I woke up at like 4 a.m. or something, and I was like, I immediately have to start planning. But we've given ourselves grace, and I've told him I'd marry him tomorrow if I had to. So no, but really, you guys will know when it happens.
even in the Netherlands is another cool city to visit. Think of a smaller version of Amsterdam and the masses of tours. Yeah, we also Amsterdam's an interesting one because again, I think it was just a victim of A, the kind of trip we were doing, B, the time of year. Like there were a lot of things that we weren't able to do in Amsterdam because it wasn't just in the right season. So Amsterdam is one, like a lot of times there are cities where if they didn't rank as high for us, we maybe feel like, okay, we got our fill of this city. But Amsterdam is one that didn't necessarily rank very high for us, just because of the subjective experience we had that time. But we feel like we do want to go back to at a different time of year and get different kinds of experiences and see things a little bit outside the city as well. And yeah, maybe just not 45 days into a massive trip. We feel like there's a different kind of experience we could get in Amsterdam that we just happen to not have the first time. So,
but
go ahead.
A highlight of Amsterdam was the Anne Frank Museum.
Yeah.
Look very fondly back on that.
We'll have to look into Leiden though, because like we said, we want to see more than just the big cities.
Those moments that were so personal, albeit sad, absolutely added to the vlog. It was a nice choice to show how you felt, how you reflected, and allow people to relate to you and your experiences. Thank you so much. That was the goal. We just wanted to, I don't know, we've never felt like we've had to be different people with you guys.
Yeah.
So
there were things that we considered, like, do we put it in or not? But you know, with obviously we had this whole thing going to Saint-Avold, so there was no, you know, not showing us going there for your great grandpa. And, you know, with my grandma, like there's this 2-day gap of like 0 footage in Berlin over Christmas of all things. And there was a potential of, you know, the trip not continuing. So that's something we like had to address. We didn't just want to be like, hey, 2 days, like we just didn't do much, moving on, you know, like there was no point sort of withholding that. It's just we didn't address it for several until we were in Prague. We didn't talk about it on camera. So that's why, like in the Berlin video, I kind of had to dip in. Present day Brian had to be like, hey, there's a reason why we skipped. We'll talk about it at a later time. But yeah, we just wanted to just be us, you know. Some people, I think a lot of people have like appreciated that about the vlogs, maybe like the authenticity. Other people maybe feel like, you know, we could have come in and like done more research about places and made it more like higher production, like come across as more like this, you know, we could have said like, oh, this is this particular place and like this is the history behind it. And some people might find that valuable, but we didn't want to pretend like we knew more than we knew.
Yeah, and that wasn't us. Like, again, our very first video talking about it is we're Americans who had never been out of the country.
We exchanged money at the airport, you know, like
exactly.
That's how little we.
So we also just hope that we were like, we're going to try it and we're going to do it. And it's not impossible. So
to any Americans watching, don't exchange money at the airport. Go to like a bank or something.
I'm doing a trip to Australia and New Zealand in 2026. So who knows, we might see you in New Zealand. Absolutely. That is the plan, to go to those 2 places for our honeymoon. So that'd be great. Ignore the haters in your comments. They're just jealous that you went on an awesome trip and they didn't. Yes. Couldn't have said it better. The weird thing is that your channel just appeared on my YouTube page for no obvious reason. Well, we're glad we did it, David.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of times people came to it because I'm sure like for a lot of you guys, this algorithm, there's probably like a lot of travel stuff, a lot of channels of like exploring some of these cities. But yeah, there are other people who, like you, David, who have just said like, I have no idea where this came from, but I just like watched a video and glad I did. And yeah, I'm glad that for some reason the algorithm threw our video in your direction. Because we really we haven't even gone out of our way too much to try to like market the channel. We have like Instagram or whatever where we announce like, hey, we have a new video up, but this is just kind of like a side thing that we do. So there hasn't been any sort of, I don't know, attempt to sort of put the channel out there and get more people to come to it. So I don't know how everybody ended up here, but glad that everybody found their way. Let's see. Just need to say bravo. Thank you, Nancy. I see this is, we're a little bit behind on comments. So I don't know what all these could be in reference to. As Edwin started saying, war, what it is. Yes, Mike. Absolutely nothing. Say it again. Anyway. I meant minus the massive tourists in Amsterdam. Amsterdam is still a cool city to visit. You should try visiting in summer. Yeah, I think that's maybe the plan if we ever get back to Amsterdam, to do it in late spring or summer for sure.
Echoing the other comments, I also prefer the more personal touch that you brought. There's plenty of shiny tour guides on YouTube already. Thank you. Bad boy. Do you want to say hi, Nippy? Tell him we're matching. Yeah.
You've been good boy.
Republican or Democrat? I'll tell you this. We're not the same. Brian and I are different.
Yeah, but it doesn't affect our relationship at all.
No.
You want Nimbus? You can take him. He's some days we're like more than happy to just.
Look at him. Hi, everyone. He's the reason we can't go on another 3-month trip because he's so demanding. But he's a little baby. Oh. You're being very well behaved. This isn't him normally, I promise.
Yeah.
You okay?
Whatever, maybe we just live stream every single day so that he's less chaotic. Maybe that's just the plan. You need to see Edinburgh at Christmas/New Year. Yeah,
we were too early and too late on that.
I mean, Edinburgh at any time of year, because also there's like the Edinburgh Festival that is like a huge thing. So that would be like the fall, I guess, or late summer that we'd need to be there. So why don't we just go there every single season, every single month, and then we'll never miss anything.
Yeah. Was that the first time you experienced a protest march? How did it feel? So I guess that not for me, because I had reported on some protests and marches and stuff in my career as a journalist, but the scale was way bigger when we were in Berlin. Also, it was kind of crazy, like the way that we found it, because we were going to Checkpoint Charlie and we had gotten off of the S-Bahn or U-Bahn, I'm not sure which one, but we saw all of the police and we heard the chanting. So it was neat, honestly. Like it was just the adrenaline spike, kind of just watching it and seeing it and everything. And it was that time last year where all of that stuff was so prevalent.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. And if you remember too, like the Checkpoint Charlie stop on the whichever one it was, I think it was maybe the S-Bahn, that whole stop was completely closed down because of the protest. So we had to get off at like the next one down and then walk to Checkpoint Charlie. And
also the trains were like stalled for a long time. Like we were standing for like 10 minutes in one.
Yeah. So there were like, so it was a bit like in the video, like looking back on it now, yeah, like without the adrenaline, it was completely safe. And it's not something we see every day. So you just never know. But people in the comments have said like, it's very common, like, but you know, there's a large police presence and public transport is completely like canceled or delayed because of this thing.
And
So
it was
it's
a
just
peaceful
bit ominous.
protest.
Yeah,
There wasn't
peaceful.
violence. Yeah.
But it's a huge crowd and like the megaphone and they're all marching and you have like 24 cops. So you can't just fully be lax, or at least I didn't feel like being just like, oh, cool. We wanted to just kind of steer a little bit clear of it and observe it from a distance. And
Yeah.
We promised our families too we wouldn't take any like unnecessary risks. So we were gonna like jump in the middle of the crowd and like film
Vlog
and stuff,
or anything. Let's see. Your dog is so sweet. He's literally trying to lick my teeth. Thank you. He is so sweet. He's so sweet.
More screen time. This is how we're gonna get the views. I think we cracked the code now.
I know. He turns 1 next month, everyone. So we're gonna wish him happy birthday. Big paws. He does have big paws, but he doesn't really grow that much anymore. Yeah. Like we thought that he would be twice as big, but he's tiny.
He's only like 45 pounds.
He's behaving for his adoring fans, perhaps. Yes,
maybe. Yeah.
He definitely feels the love.
Yeah, he knows that he has to be very well behaved because the cameras are on.
I avoid Edinburgh during the festival time. It's horrendous. Way too many people pack it. Absolutely. In fact, we had an Uber driver tell us like everything is triple the price. So that's the thing is like we'd want to go see the festival, but he's into stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I just know that we'll be back in Edinburgh more than one more time. So maybe we'll go and avoid it one time, but still go in warmer months and then go back and actually see it. Which place felt the most culturally different from the States or most culturally unique?
Well, I think for different reasons, like what comes to mind in terms of language would be Prague, obviously. I am at least conversational. I need to brush up on it, but I minored in French, so I can speak French. I've like dabbled in Spanish and German. So like there was a lot of familiarity, and then Portuguese and Spanish have a lot of overlap. Those Romance languages are also similar. So I could sort of wrap my head around everything up until, with the exception of the heavy Glaswegian accent that might as well have been a foreign language when we were listening to that couple arguing in Belfast. Yeah. But then we get into Prague or just get into the Czech Republic, traveling out of Berlin. And yeah, I mean that the language was just like the first, and I'm like, okay, this is very, very foreign to me.
I think that like first impression wise of something feeling different was going to Porto, because we had Brian and I talk about like the UK had things were different and Ireland was different and stuff like that. Porto just felt like more exotic might not be the right word, but it just felt more like different. Mm-hmm. Like the architecture was different, the people were different, the language was different. So yeah, that's where I felt, I guess, initial differences.
Yeah.
Lots of different food, which kind of leads into another question is, did you eat any exotic traditional cuisines like eyeballs or something? I did not.
Yeah, we didn't get too crazy. I mean, frog legs and...
You had frog legs and duck in Paris.
And yeah.
In like one meal too.
Yeah, the frog legs, I thought the frog legs were just going to be like a small little thing. And then the main meal was going to be the duck that I had, which duck isn't too exotic, but frog legs I would consider. But the frog legs filled me up. And then the duck wasn't nearly as good as the frog legs either. So we're just sitting there. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know if I can finish this.
Brian did have fish and chips.
In Liverpool, I had fish and chips.
Oh, and I had like a traditional like scouse.
You had scouse in Liverpool, yeah.
Yeah, but it was vegetarian. I'm vegetarian, but I loved it. It was like, it was so, it was perfect because it was cold outside and it was like a nice warm like stew.
The first go around in Edinburgh, the last day I had lamb stovies. So yeah, it felt a bit, I don't know how traditionally Scottish that is, but I think it seemed like it was more traditional Scottish than anything we'd eaten up to that point. Because the first day we went to the Kurdish restaurant, which definitely isn't Scottish.
Yeah.
But was the best food I had on the entire trip. Sorry if that offends anyone, but the best food of the entire trip for me were kebabs from a Kurdish restaurant in Edinburgh.
And that was our favorite restaurant. We dreamed about it. like when we left, and then we went back and immediately had it. And we had the same waitress who was so kind too.
Yeah.
Stovies are pretty traditional. You need to have fish and chips in Scotland. Good idea. If you have a specific place, let us know and we'll have to go back.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess maybe we rewind. Well, there are a few comments that we had from people who couldn't make the live stream that I do want to address quickly to jump in.
And we have about half an hour left. So if there are any other questions, please let us know.
Yeah.
And I will also look on Instagram if there are any other
So
ones.
a question from Rich GC 3608. Just wondering how you found adjusting back to normal life after such an amazing and intense adventure. I think we kind of addressed it. That we sort of eased back into life here, but there was also just so many headaches to overcome, like getting, the apartment, getting employed.
Yeah, the stress of looking for jobs, having an apartment that we had a lease for that we didn't know that we could pay for really was stressful.
Yeah, if you do a 91-day trip, like it's hard to have like things completely set on the other side of that trip.
The trip, yeah.
You can't just it's hard to find a job and be like, can you wait 3 months for me to get there? Like,
right.
So we just
or
did
an apartment.
Stuff, during the trip. Liz Vickers says, how long have you been together and where did you first meet?
Well, we just celebrated our 3-year anniversary in August.
Mm-hmm.
And we met at a TV station. It's called NTV in Axtell, Nebraska, a very small little town.
Yeah.
But to give the short runaround of how we met, I started there in June of 2020, and then Brian started working there in May of 2022. 21. And I was his boss. Not really, but I was a anchor and reporter and producer, and then he got hired on as a director behind the scenes. And I worked the weekend shift and he worked the weekend shift. And the weekend crew, we were all good friends and everything. So he joined that group. And I guess the first day I met him, it was like his second or third day on the job.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. And because my sister was an anchor there as well. And I went over after that first weekend, I went over, and we don't need to go into, there was a situation, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but my sister thought that there was someone else at the station that maybe she'd try to hook me up with. So after the first weekend on a Monday, I go over and I ask my sister, like, what about like that Lauren, and she's like, oh, I never would have considered like Lauren for you. Just because the other person like maybe had more in common, it wouldn't have been as obvious. And plus, like, there is a little bit of an age difference that maybe my sister wasn't thinking would, was the perfect match.
The other girl would have been on paper perfect for Brian.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I decided to settle.
Oh my gosh.
And
no.
So
That's so rude.
So I asked her, and it was like, I'm like right from the out, but like Lauren wears a lot of rings. And so just like, and I swear I never look at like rings on women or anything like that.
Well, I hope you don't know.
But I looked and I just saw you had a lot of rings. So, and I thought you were a few years older, because Lauren's much like, she carries herself much more professionally, and like she feels older. At the time she was 23. So she felt, I thought like mid to late 20s. And the way like her and Stephanie were like talking, I thought they were just like friends outside of work. So I just assumed she was older, and she had a lot of rings. So I just assumed that she was probably like engaged or married or something. But I just like brought it up to my sister, and she said like, no, like she doesn't think like Lauren is with anybody. And just through like our friend group, getting to know each other and stuff, like I definitely had a crush. And there was a girl who worked there with us who was like really good friends with Lauren, but like had the same job I did on the weekends. And so I would like I asked her one time, like, does Lauren ever like, just talk about me or anything? And, this friend being super loyal to Lauren was just like, no. And she said it so decisively that my heart was kind of crushed. And I'm like, oh, like there's no,
no chance.
No chance whatsoever. Yeah. And,
but, I didn't want to date him at first because his sister was like my boss, and she was scary, and she knows that. I was like intimidated by her, but I respected her because she was also like a mentor for me. So I didn't want to date her brother, and if it didn't work out, for my relationship with her to be ruined. But it's worked out. We're engaged. So
that is the thing that happened.
And I also think too that we just worked so well together. we were such a good team working wise that it kind of laid the foundation of us being good travel buddies as well.
Yeah, the two of us, our jobs for the last like year and a half at the station complemented each other. We sort of like ran the weekend. I think that's fair to say that the two of us were in charge of like running the weekend shows and stuff. And so some of our job would overlap in certain ways, but we always just worked as a team. I know I'm punching above you. You read that? You read David Robertson's? Yeah, it's true.
Thank you, David. If some, no.
I know I'm punching above my weight.
No, you're.
Put on, every morning I put on my boxing gloves and I punch up above my weight.
That's sweet. Thank you.
It's true. She is like out of my league, but that's another reason why I wouldn't have thought like it was possible. So I got very lucky, and I've never questioned it since. And so yeah, I just as long as she doesn't wake up and come back to reality, like I'm totally fine.
Yeah. Well, we have matching tattoos now, so
that's true.
It'd be awkward if we
broke out. Yeah, that's. Let's see. How are you guys spending the rest of your day?
We're just gonna hang out, probably get some lunch after this, and then my aunt is hosting a family dinner, so we'll go and do that this evening.
Wouldn't visit Stonehenge. Seemingly, you've got to dance around the stones naked, or was that just Billy Connolly's take on it? Yeah, that definitely wasn't in the day trip description. The naked dancing. I feel like if we would have, maybe we could have done that, but we would have probably ended up in a prison somewhere in England. So
yeah.
Were you considering a walking trip in Scotland at one point? There was the mysterious trip to see the man in Leith. Yeah, so the whole Leith thing was just we were consulting with someone who eventually was the guy who gave us our tattoos. So that's why we were up in Leith. But we also just wanted to see Leith because people had sort of recommended it in the comments after our first series of Edinburgh videos. So we're like, yeah, we'll go up to Leith for the afternoon, and then we'll meet with this person and see if it's feasible for us to come back 2 days from now, because we had the day trip the very next day, and then the day after that we wanted to get the tattoos.
And here's
so they're just
I can't really show you, but
they're small, but
yeah, this is what they look like. No,
it's just the mileage of our route.
Let's see.
Easiest tattoo that he's probably ever done. His name is Des, by the way, and he's a really cool guy. He was Irish, right?
Yes, yeah, he was. He was awesome.
Right. The Anstruther fish bar. And Anstruther is good. Edinburgh doesn't have many good ones, sadly. Good ones I can think of are probably Piro's and Leith, Salvatore's, and I did have fish. Oh
my gosh, how did we forget? He did have fish and chips
in Leith. I had fish and chips in Leith.
Yeah, you did. Wow, and it was at like a super cool little restaurant by the water.
Yeah, right by the river. So
yeah,
that is true. I
can't believe we forgot about that.
Well, when I think of Leith, I just, it's always so dominated because the day we were up there, the weather was bad and it just wasn't there wasn't a lot happening. So we did some walking around and we got food and stuff. And then we went and saw about the tattoos. So what dominates my mind is just going up to Leith. And we walked around like a lot of like residential areas too up in Leith. We saw like a lot of like apartment flats and things. But yeah, I had fish and chips. We'll have to do, my plan is to eventually do an extended cut of the trip, like just one long video, or it might be two, because I think it's probably like 17 or 18 hours or something like that. So it'll be two, like maybe a 12-hour and then a 6-hour video with everything in it, including the stuff that got cut out for like pacing purposes for the people who, so it's like there's deleted scenes, there's extra stuff that it's like, we didn't really care to show us like eating some food.
A lot of the stuff was like that we cut out was doing laundry and eating.
Yeah.
Where would you recommend for European planning for a trip to America, less touristy places ideally? That is a fantastic question.
Great question.
Oh my goodness. Here's the thing is like, our dog is going crazy outside. Sorry. We haven't been, I've been to a fair amount of states, but there are a lot of places I would love to go in America that I haven't been to.
Yeah, and it's tough because It's tough because when I think of places that would be worth coming to, obviously a lot of them, if you're from outside the US, then I feel like a big part of coming to the US is for some of those things. It's like the obvious ones. So it goes against your question because like obviously New York City, right? Because that's where you're going to see Empire State Building, you're going to see Statue of Liberty. I would say Virginia. It's touristy, but it's not New York City crowded. I would say go to like DC, or you could go to like Jamestown.
Mhm.
Go to Jamestown and see like very early settlements. And there's some homes around there too, so you can see like a lot of like 1607 is when Jamestown was established, or something around there. So for us, that's old, right? That's the weird thing about our country versus a lot of European countries. When we talk about old, for you guys, it's like, what are you talking about? Like we have like 600, but 1600 is about the oldest that we still have preserved. There's some like Indian tribes and things that have
reservations,
but those aren't always accessible. So it's tough to really see the history of our country because we kind of like wiped a lot of it away.
Yeah. Well, I would recommend though, it would be neat. It would be a lot of travel, but the US has like many cultures within it, you know, like traveling to the South is like, I have culture shock when I visit like my sister in Georgia, because there are different customs and food and practices and stuff like that that are different just by like being in the South. So if you're able to, I would say like finding those pockets of going to like the Northeast and having that kind of like Boston, New York experience, going down South.
You could go to New Orleans.
Yeah, going to New Orleans. That's a place on my bucket list that I would love to go.
Yeah, Louisiana. I think it's Louisiana. You find like a lot of Haitian culture.
Yeah, and lots of like cool ghost type of things there.
Yeah.
And then you can go to like Nashville and have that kind of experience. Come out here to Colorado and see the mountains.
Yeah.
And
Nashville's a good one. Gatlinburg in Tennessee.
Oh yeah, that's really neat.
That's a cool one.
We're just throwing a lot out there, but that could definitely be something that we go more into depth in the future. But thank you for that question.
Yeah.
It makes me realize like, wow,
it makes me realize that I need to think about it. You know?
Yeah. Let's see. I have lost.
We are.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go. Okay. From Sunderland. Okay. Davy Palmer says, hi from Sunderland, Northeast England. I recommend a visit to my part of the world during your next trip to the UK. The beaches in Northumberland are amazing, and Durham Cathedral is out of this world.
That'd be fantastic. Absolutely.
Yeah. Hitting places outside of the major cities is definitely like a plan for the next UK trip.
Oh my gosh. We need to crowdfund your next traveling adventure. Some of us don't watch Hollywood. Thanks for YouTube. Nancy, thank you. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I wish.
I feel super like guilty about it, but the fact that
Hi, I'm from Bordeaux. I saw your comment earlier when you just posted it, and my heart dropped. I was like, ugh.
Until you saw the just kidding.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Thought I was gonna have to whip out a French apology.
I know.
No.
We're just gonna. Is there pencil in the Thistle Street bar for your next visit to Edinburgh? It's a cracking weed pub just 5 minutes from Waverley Station. St. Vincent Bar on the edge of Stoke. Okay. Let me know when you want a tour of Cotswolds. Awesome.
You got fish and chips reserved on you. I'm trying to remember the name of the place. I'd have to look. I'd have to get out the external hard drive with all the footage and look it up, because I'm sure we got maybe the sign or the menu or something where the fish and chips were in Leith. But
let me see.
You might have it in there from something else.
Yeah.
Used to work in Leith. It's better in summer, but not that exciting. Yeah, and I mean, we figured it wasn't going to be like as big and touristy, but because it's like near the water. Yeah, I guess we thought that there could be a lot of happening stuff up there. Might have just been the time of day. It might have been the weather, time of year. That was, again, one of the downsides of traveling in winter, is even in the summer, an average weekday night might still bring more people out. So
it is the ship. The ship on the shore is where we ate. And remember it? Yes, it was that one. Yeah. I didn't get fish and chips, but I got like a really good grilled cheese that had like jam on it. It was really yummy. David, we will let you know when we want to tour of the Cotswolds. That would be a fantastic. Hopefully we can, I would love for us to continue connecting. And when we come out, we had thought about like maybe saying, hey, if we're in Edinburgh or wherever we are, we could like drop a location and meet as many of you as we can, because that would be fantastic.
Wait, there's a lot better ones I need, right? Yeah, there are a lot of cool bars and restaurants down there. Donald Trump's mother came from.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I know that she was Scottish.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, what was the other question? There was another question on.
There was.
You too.
Do you have any idea which country you will get married in?
That was from Pimela Leach 1531.
We don't know yet. But we'll let you know. We're kind of like not thinking about wedding stuff until the new year. We're gonna go through the holidays and continue to settle, and that's when we're gonna make hard and fast plans. But we will absolutely let you know.
There are definitely ideas and stuff. Like we've definitely spent the last year talking about things, but it's just been really hard to sit down and be like, all right, we're going to start committing to things, because just 2 weeks ago we were moving into this house from the apartment, and
Brian's getting a new job.
Yeah,
settling has taken a bit longer than we
Should we just tell that story real quick about how fun it was, like ending up in that apartment?
Yeah, we can. Mike, thank you so much for joining. We'll definitely be live again soon. If that's something that you guys would like, we can definitely do it maybe next month. That'd be fantastic. So thank you for joining. And thank you for everyone who's been on here for the last 2 hours and 40 minutes. That's amazing.
We still have 20 minutes.
Yeah,
so
20
we're
minutes.
Still going to sit here and chat. So.
But yeah, I guess to sum it up, and please, whatever questions you guys have, let us know. Any last things on your mind? But yeah, so basically, to make it a long story short, in September, before we left for the trip, I came out to Colorado to go apartment hunting, and we found this apartment in a town called Longmont. And it looked fantastic and beautiful, and it was #1 on our list. And we had 3 other apartments that we looked at, but this one was on the top of our list. And then in January in Switzerland, we figured applying for jobs and apartments in January would be good, because we'd be getting back in February. So that was the timing. We ended up getting approved for the apartment. We were so happy. And when we got to the apartment, they had no idea who we were. New management had taken over, and none of our information and lease was transferred over to the new one. So we moved into a dirty apartment that had missing blinds and all this stuff. And management pretended like everything was okay.
It was clear that they, like, new management. Did you just say a new company took over?
Yeah, a new company had taken over.
So it's clear that they just had overlooked us. They were taken by surprise when we showed up there, even though Lauren was talking to the guy the whole month. So we show up there, and they were like last minute trying to like, I don't know, do whatever.
Clean up and
they
pretend like they knew. So,
but it was a disaster.
Yeah, and then we ended up getting a puppy, and living in an apartment with a puppy is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just like a lot of violence in the area, cops there every day. We just didn't feel safe. At one point, I didn't want to go out at night by myself. So it was just rough, but we feel blessed, because without the absolute hellscape of that apartment, we wouldn't have found this beautiful house in this amazing, gorgeous, safe neighborhood. So that's where we're at now. Let's see.
Letting him be in.
Okay. I would love to see you live again. Yes, Mike. Thank you so much. Please stay in touch. I saw J.K. Rowling and Leith outside at the Scottish premiere of the first Harry Potter film. I had forgotten that until I watched some of your Harry Potter stuff. Oh my goodness. Did you read that?
Well, I heard you say Rowling.
Rolling?
Yeah, it's rolling.
Whatever. Hi, Nimby. That is so neat. Oh my goodness. That's so neat. It was really cool that Brian, it's fully charged. You need to keep it plugged in.
Yep.
Okay.
Leith in the Scottish premiere of the first Harry Potter film, I've forgotten. Yeah, all the seeing the Harry Potter stuff in both London and Edinburgh, it's one of those things. I think a lot of people were very confused. Like, there were certainly people who were like, why do Americans have to compare everything to Harry Potter? And I was always confused by people being confused, because I would have thought that it's obvious. You know, the books and the films take place in both England and Scotland, and a lot of the architecture there is like visible in the films. A lot of the places are shot in places in London, and Hogwarts is in Scotland, and a lot of the scenes and locations and things are filmed in Scotland. So of course, like us coming there, like that's our frame of reference, for my generation, someone who's into Harry Potter, like, of course I'm gonna say like, oh yeah, that's that from that scene, or this architecture reminds me of Hogwarts, because there's a reason it does, and it's because like it takes place there. So there were certainly people that were like, yeah, like Americans compare everything to Harry Potter, and it's just a frame of reference. And so
it was neat to actually see the places in the movies in real life. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm gonna check Facebook and Instagram to see if there are any other questions.
Hello, James Luck. Second, the Northumbrian recommendation. The first film was filmed at Aldwych Castle. Yeah. The first two films, I know that there was, I don't know if they were all that castle or just certain like exterior stuff. I think there was also like in maybe Oxford or Cambridge or somewhere, like some of the courtyard stuff was in a different. So I know like there are definitely castles to go to like around England. Those first few films before Gloucester Cathedral. Yeah. Places to go and check out Harry Potter locations. So it's definitely more incentive to be like, all right, we've done all like the city stuff. Now let's go out and see. Wonder how New York or LA feel about tourists relating to those films. Speaking of which, how does Yellowstone reflect Nebraska? What is Yellowstone? The TV. I don't think I've watched Yellowstone.
Yes, I haven't, but I'm sure not accurately. Like, I mean,
it's
the cowboy type of.
It's tough. It's
yeah,
really
I don't
tough.
know. Yeah,
I also don't know. Is Yellowstone like modern day, or is it like a period type thing? I think it's modern.
Isn't it a period type thing? I'm sorry, we honestly don't really know, but let us know.
But certainly, like LA, like people's view of Americans being like the really LA type is probably inaccurate. So that's just what Hollywood does. They're sort of encapsulating the exaggerated versions of culture in films, and it's not always like a blanket understanding of like those cultures and those places. So before Harry Potter blew up, Platform 9 3/4 used to be completely ignored. That's when it blew up, they made it a massive attraction. And I will say, Oracle, that Platform 9 3/4 at King's Cross. It's not even like there's platform 9 and 10 and then there's a spot in between where it is. It's just like a random wall and a shop, like with all the Harry Potter stuff you can get at any other shop. So that was really kind of a letdown.
It was, because we had waited forever in line. Like we were in that queue, like you had mentioned, for a long time. So
the coolest part about that whole thing was going outside of, is it called St. Pancras station? Like there's an exterior there where like when the flying car goes up in Chamber of Secrets, that whole exterior part, I think it's like between King's Cross and St. Pancras. Like that was cool to see that actual location. But the inside itself, just standing in that line, and then you don't even get to choose your own pose, and they kind of rush you through, and then you go in that super crowded definitely not worth it. Just go to the Harry Potter Studios London, and there's a platform 9 3/4 there that you can just take your time with.
I have an actual question at last. Do you have strong musical taste? Also, what are your non-Potter Lord of the Ring interests?
Yeah.
I think we have different music tastes. I mean, Brian is definitely more, I guess, into music.
Yeah, I play a few different instruments and was in a band for several years that did a lot of like... Nimbus. Don't eat the Christmas tree. Come on.
He's back at trying to get ornaments. Sorry.
Played like shows and things. So music is just, from a young age, has always been a thing that I've like absorbed and played and written music and stuff. And then we have different musical tastes, but I think you consume more music on a day-to-day now than I do.
Yeah, I like more folk, indie, alternative music. Like my favorite band is Rainbow Kitten Surprise, if you've heard of them. Highly recommend listening to them. Also other interests. Well, I like.
Oh,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I guess both of us. We do like to play like little games together, like Nintendo Switch games. We just started a new like little farming game. So we sit on the couch and we have our own Nintendos and we play. But I love documentaries. I love watching those. I also like to read, and I love like thrift shopping and older type of unique like shops like that.
Yeah, we have a D&D group that we play D&D with, and
yes, and that's super fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm big into gaming, mainly single player games. Like my favorite video game franchise of all time is the Mass Effect series, if anybody knows about Mass Effect. But like I love The Witcher, Halo, back when it was good. It's what I kind of grew up with. Recent games haven't been so great. Yeah, reading, same kind of thing. It's been a while since I've really like sat down and like watched too many movies, but we've been getting back into having movie nights now that we have
an actual like living room to be able to watch them, which is so nice.
You love plants? Did you say you love plants?
Oh yeah, I do love plants. And my D&D character is an elf druid, and I feel like that is me in real life. I'm a druid at heart. Like
her apartment in Kearney was the first time I ever walked into her apartment. Shortly after we met, she had like a fairly small little apartment, and there was one like kind of big window near the front door, and I think you had like at least 15 plants in that area.
Yeah, I have a green thumb. I love plants, and we have a few here now too. So
yeah,
we'll definitely be getting more. Do you want to let him out?
Yeah. Let's see.
I can read some of these out. Okay. How about a tour of where you live now on video for all of us UK viewers? Great to see you both happy, by the way. Thank you, Toton1. We did not prepare for a tour, but we are going to be going live again. I think maybe we could do it next month, but I can here, Brian can show you the downstairs briefly.
So yeah. Hello, MTV Cribs. Welcome to my. Oh, that's okay. There we go. Okay, so yeah, it's our living room area. There we go. It's kind of hard with a laptop.
Make people nauseous.
Yeah, well, for sure. We got these stairs that go to the upper floor. Got our kitchen. There's our puppy, wondering why he can't be part of this.
But we would love to show you guys more, but we have a load of laundry on the bed. And we'd like to keep the impression that we're nice and clean.
We do have souvenirs though.
Yeah. We'll get to these questions. Do you guys have any interest in seeing our souvenirs? Just some of them that we have.
That's true.
Let us know, because then we can, because we can finish off showing you kind of the little mementos that we brought back. If not, we're not offended. Oh, Victoria, thank you for joining. It was so lovely to meet and chat with you as well. Thank you for being so supportive and kind.
Have you experienced a weird situation when your own vlog thumbnail shows up in your YouTube feed?
Not really. I haven't.
Mine only just because like after I post a video, like I'll go on my personal one just to make sure like it looks fine. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, our quarter life crisis videos, we always just call it QLC, by the way. Like the quarter life crisis thing, like at some point the channel name will probably just become like just QLC travels, because that's what it is on everything. Yeah. And now that like, I mean, I was never quarter life age at the time that all this planning stuff happened. Yeah. But yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks for that's a fantastic idea. That's something that we can absolutely do. We live in a tiny like little farming town now, so there's not a ton, but we would love to show you. And we haven't really had a chance to explore much of Colorado while we've been out here. So
we can definitely give like a day in the life. And
yeah. I'm glad that you guys are interested in that still. We appreciate that.
We definitely have beautiful mountains near us. So like the landscapes that we get to see every day are super beautiful. Yeah. I mean, Kearney, Nebraska is a nice little town. We loved living there, but it's pretty flat around there. So where we live now, we have, just like beauty close to us.
So I'm happy to show you guys. I prepared and brought my souvenirs. Do you want to get your sword?
So I'll get the pins.
Because David and the pins. And can you also bring down our big board that we have with all of the stuff?
Yeah, where's that at?
It's in our room
Okay.
on the wall. Okay, so I'll just start off with my souvenirs. I got something in every country. Brian got something in every city. So I'll just show you what I got. And I got a lot of jewelry stuff. So I'm sorry if this is kind of boring, but I wanted actual functional stuff. So I got this set of rings. Sorry, how do you do this? They're like the Anne Boleyn rings. I got them at the Tower of London when we were in London. I was just fascinated by all of that. So I figured that this would be a good little souvenir. And then going into Liverpool, I didn't get anything in Liverpool, but I got my dad a little Beatles magnet. And then in Edinburgh, I got a few things in Edinburgh. These tea towels were my idea. And then I also got my jacket in Edinburgh. And then on our way back, I got this purse. This is the Harris Tweed purse. And I got some of my family, like the women in my family, some wallets. And I got a little wallet too. And I wear this every single day. I love it. And then in Edinburgh, then we went to Belfast and I got a Titanic magnet. In Ireland, I just got this little St. Peter charm. Okay, in Portugal, I got this. This was originally a set of earrings, but they broke off as earrings. So I just have them as little charms, and one day I'll make them earrings again. But they're made out of little like teacups, I think. Okay. Spain, at a little vintage market, I got this ring, which is still one of my favorite souvenirs. I wear it quite often. Okay. Spain, I'm trying to see what we have next. In Paris, I got these the day that we got engaged, which is so fun. So sorry, they're tangled a bit. I got a few charms at the church that we were at in, I'm going to butcher this, Montmartre. I'm sorry. But I got this cross and I got this little cherub charm. 1 second. Okay. When Brian and I were at the top of the Eiffel Tower, this is again where we recklessly spent money. We got
just that one time we recklessly spent money.
We got champagne at the top of the Eiffel Tower, so we kept the little champagne flute things. And then here, we'll just put this here.
Okay. Things aren't gonna fall.
No, it's fine. Okay, so that's Paris. Where do we go after Paris?
Saint-Avold?
No. Was it Bruges?
After Paris?
Yeah, or after France.
Luxembourg.
Okay, in Luxembourg, sorry, it's hard to keep them all straight. A little Luxembourg charm. And then I got this in Bruges. Bruges has a lot of lace stuff. So this woman in the shop, and I thought it was just gorgeous. So a lace necklace. In Amsterdam at a thrift store, I got this. It came with this was attached to a vest, but I just keep it like this. They're like little flowers. Okay, I'll kind of speed through some of this stuff now. Okay, after Amsterdam, we went to Germany. I didn't actually buy anything in Germany, but when we were in, sorry, Bri. When we were at Checkpoint Charlie, I got this free little tote. So Germany, after Germany, we went to, bye. Thanks for joining. After Germany, we went to Switzerland, and in Switzerland, what did I get in Switzerland? Oh, I don't have it on me, but it's upstairs, but I got a little hand that looks like this, and it holds a picture.
It was in Switzerland, right?
Yeah.
Local hand.
Yeah, and then in Italy, I got a few things. I got in Florence, I got this little coin holder. I did get a rosary from the Vatican. And then my soon-to-be sister-in-law sent us money and bought me a bag in Florence at the leather market, which is amazing. I love it. And I skipped Prague. I got this bracelet in Prague. In Greece, I'm trying to roll through it because I'm sorry if it's boring, but I got this is it called the Evil Eye? Yes, little necklace and a ring. And I think that's it for my stuff.
Mine won't take very long.
Brian's is cool though.
Yeah, so I guess the biggest thing is all the pins, which I started them on my backpack, and then we had a few mishaps with it. So I decided not to do that anymore. But in here, the American flag one was actually, when we're going through stuff at my grandma's house after she passed, like she had an American flag pin. So I was like, that would be a perfect way to cap off the pin collection. But I hope that sword doesn't fall. So we got Platform 9 3/4 for London, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band to represent Liverpool. This was at that sword shop. It's like the Bag End door from Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. For Edinburgh, we got this like Starliner one for Belfast. We have Dublin, Porto, Lisbon. Am I going crazy? Why?
Madrid.
That's right. Madrid, Barcelona. We got one that kind of represents both Bordeaux and Metz because there weren't really a lot of souvenir places in those cities. So it's just, this one to represent both. Paris, Luxembourg, Bruges, Amsterdam, Hamburg, Berlin, Prague, Munich, Bern, Milan, Venice, Florence.
No, that one
Rome.
is. Did you forget Czech Republic?
No, Prague.
Or Prague,
Prague's
sorry.
right there. Yeah, you're good. Rome, Vatican City.
That one's Greece.
Yeah, Athens and Cardiff. So those are the pins, which is like the main thing that I bought. I didn't get too many souvenirs, but I did get they have sell little pieces of the Berlin Wall. He's eating an ornament over there. NIMBY. Little piece of the Berlin Wall. We got in Bordeaux, there was a place where we can make little custom Legos in the Lego store. So I made mine with a little sword, and Lauren's got her little one. Obviously, there's the one ring, which you guys saw in the video. And the sword itself. And that's about, I can't really think of anything else that I purchased for me other than the coat, obviously.
And then we'll show you this. It's going to be hard to see, so I apologize, but let's bring this back. So we kept, I mentioned that.
Oh, yeah.
We kept as many things like tickets and stuff like that as we could, and we saved them. And we have, you might need to just face it. Okay, let's see.
See how much we can fit in there.
We have this giant thing that we kept so many of our little souvenir things that we got. This is from the Louvre.
Our first two hostels that we stayed in, the room, technically, or three, probably shouldn't, but we had this, I don't know, we kept those room keys because we had multiples, and we turned in all except those. And then after that, we turned in all room keys. So
yeah,
that's kind of not a good look. But.
Some coins, some money, all of that stuff. So we hang this in our room, and it's so fun to look back on, our tickets in Rome.
Nimbus, come on.
This was a postcard that we got on our trip to the Highlands in Scotland.
Yeah, he was our tour guide to the Highlands, by the way.
Give that to us.
Yeah, super awesome. He basically at one of the stops, he went in and he got everybody individualized postcards based on
stuff we talked about.
He gotten to know us and stuff. And he was super cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he got me that one.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll finish up here, but oh my gosh, so how did we get everything through? We packed our backpacks like crazy, and I ended up coming back with now Nimbus is behaving like himself. He's getting into stuff. I had a big plastic bag full of purses because we also got Brian's sister a purse from Florence. So I was carrying around 3 bags, and we just had a bunch of stuff, and we packed as much as we could safely in our backpacks, and then other stuff was carry on. So I remember I did get stopped when they were checking because I brought home a door plate for my mom from Ireland with an Irish saying on it, and they checked that, and some things were kind of weird, but we got everything home. But yeah, we packed everything to the brim. Let's see what else. Unfortunately, we didn't even try whiskey in Scotland. That's something that I had asked Brian if he wanted to do, but he said he didn't really want to. And we're not big whiskey people, but next time we absolutely will.
Didn't we have, but we did, didn't we have like whiskey shots or something in Dublin though? Which is, I know it's a different country.
I think we did. We might have.
I forget what it was called, but it was something like local Irish or something like that. It's like whiskey. So.
Yeah, but we didn't buy
like
any other suitcases or bags or backpacks or anything.
Like
we consider
cardinal sin. We skipped out on the whiskey in Scotland, and when we were in Ireland, we're like, yeah, let's have some whiskey here.
Thank you. We're glad that we kept it. It was something that I was looking back at, just kind of put that together within the last few months, and it was neat to look back at all of the tickets. Thank you, David, so much for joining.
Thank you, Mike, for joining too. Mike is. Did you check your iPhone for steps per day? No, that's one thing that we wish we had done. We really wish we had done, and we thought at the beginning about doing it, and then we never got around to. I don't know if there's maybe if it tracks it in the background.
Yeah, our parents were asking us about that a lot. Bye, Mike. Thank you, Nancy. Oracle, great live chat. Looking forward to the next chapter. Well, I think we might end it here.
I think, yeah.
But first of all, I have to admit, we were nervous coming onto this live chat 3 hours ago. We were like, what if no one comes? But you guys have been so amazing and so kind throughout this whole thing. It's been amazing reliving this journey with you. And we feel like we literally have friends where you are all at. So if you have any other questions or you just want to chat, we'll definitely be going live again to know that there's actually like a want for it. But feel free to DM us on Instagram if you want at QLC Travels. Follow me on my personal page if you want. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, and apologies if we have been a bit slow in recent weeks here commenting on some of those last videos. As soon as the last vlog went out, we just kind of like took a little bit of a break and stuff. So getting settled, moving and things like that. But yeah, what Lauren said, just the fact that, I mean, recognizing so many names from people who have watched the videos, left comments, it's a very surreal thing. And we just feel like super honored that, you know, people took such an interest, and we hope that we answered everybody's questions.
Thank you for the love and the support. Thank you, Pete and Nikki and Brooke, Cranky Tourist. Thank you, Davey. Thank you, James. We love you all, and we actually mean that so much. So.
Pete and Nikki, yeah, everybody, man, yeah.
Well, but you guys have motivated us to we'll do a tour here in our town. We'll keep vlogging, keep staying busy. And then our next big travels, you guys will definitely watch. So we'll post. So, okay.
I think we will call it here. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Take care. Happy holidays.